Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. A choice but to get on, mandate. Get it on, and welcome to special one-on-one with one of my favorites. Mike Rowe is in the studio. Good to see you again, Mike.
How many favorites are there? I mean, if you had to just ballpark it.
How many grains of sand are at the beach, Mike? I don't know.
How deep is the ocean?
It's not countable. We'll have to ask Mr. Owl. He says 3.
God, that was... how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
Yes. Commercials were kind of ubiquitous. Everyone knew, I can't believe I ate the whole thing, and that's a spicy meatball. And
I can remember the exact cadence of that Owl's 1, kahoo, 3.
Yes. 3. Yes.
That's great.
It was such a vacuum of entertainment. Speaking of entertainment, Something to Stand For, which is Mike's new film. Very good. I watched it in its entirety. And it was, and the reason I say that is when you interview somebody, you will oftentimes watch the trailer for the film. Sometimes you will watch 8 minutes of the film. If it's engaging, you might make it to minute 21 or 22.
Love your book jacket cover, Mike. Love that cover.
Yes, yes. And you'll probably notice that during interviews for films, especially films that are an hour and 40 minutes long, the discussion will be focused on the first 13 minutes of the film.
It's not a coincidence, right?
Right. So I couldn't get it onto the television screen. I got it onto the computer screen, and I thought, well, now this is even harder because it's hard to last. And I watched the first story, and then the second story, and then the third, and I watched it all the way through, and watched the credits, and watched the end sequence, and it's really,
thank you.
It's really engaging because it's all these bite-sized morsels of great Americana stories that you knew nothing of, with the Paul Harvey reveal at the end, which is a reverse engineering of a story, but makes it really satisfying when you found out who that person was.
Yeah, it's funny. There are no new ideas, right? Just the old ones every now and then. It's a wheel. And, when you and I grew up, we're pretty close to the same age. Paul Harvey was always there, man, telling us something we didn't know about somebody we do.
Right.
And I just thought as a construct, I missed a flight once. I was in BWI, long-term parking, late for a flight. And just as I was getting out of the car, he comes on with one of his, 5-minute stories. And I had to sit there and listen, you just can't walk away until he says, and now you know the rest of the story. Right. Missed my flight.
Wow.
So ever since then, I was like, I'd love to be able to do something that makes people miss their flights. But also, this whole thing started as the short stories for the podcast 7-8 years ago when I was trying to figure out what that was. And basically the whole pitch was mysteries for the curious mind with a short attention span. So there was no hope or no thought that it would ever turn into a movie, unless, of course, you clump a bunch of them together and tie it to Independence Day and then go to the Capitol to say this and that about our memorials and so forth.
Yeah, and as I watched it, I thought, we're living in this time where we have this thing, and I know it from my own family because I come from sort of semi-hippie kind of socialist, group that I learned to disagree with for early and often. But the constant refrain was like, I love this country, but I want to see us do better, and I got to go burn a flag. And it's like, you really do, you do love this country. We love it, but we have to tear down the statue of this guy who helped, fought in the Civil War or whatever. And it's like, we love it, but, and then the destruction. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't believe some of these people at this point when they go, we're all Americans and I love this country and I want to, reunite and whatever. And then I'm just going to come in and be divisive and sow chaos. Yeah. And it's all going to be against this country.
What's the old expression? Everything before but is bullshit.
Right.
I love the country, but here's the thing. It's like, no, there is no thing. You can be, I probably have more friends today on the left than I do on the right. And, the truth is, you can be really divergent on just about every issue, but can you agree that the first 30 minutes of of Saving Private Ryan was amazing, or Band of Brothers wasn't amazing. Right? Can you get out of your own way long enough to look at a movie like I don't know, They Shall Not Grow Old, one of the best war movies I've ever seen. And so, the answer has to be yeah, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be, but if it's no, then you're no longer having a political conversation at all. You're having a conversation between Americans and anti-Americans. And
Yes.
if you're talking to anti-Americans, that's different than talking to somebody who completely disagrees with you politically about virtually everything. And that's what I worry has gotten lost. Half the country's looking at the other half as un-American.
Yeah. Well, if you go a little more micro with it and you go, all right, it's two parents. They both love their son, but the dad thinks discipline is going to do him well, and the mom thinks coddling him would help him along. But what if the mom didn't like him, and is not saying it? You know what I mean? And so she's suggesting a lot of things going, there's great love. I just think M&M's for breakfast is a better direction to go, or, whatever, not studying and not participating in any phys ed or whatever. And you're going, oh, okay, we both love the kid, right? Oh, there's great love.
Sure.
Great love. And we both want what's best for the kid, right? They'll never say if they don't like the kid. And I'm starting to wonder if there's a larger group of those people that are letting on that maybe they're not fans of the kid.
Well, look, I mean, I didn't write the movie to be political at all. I mean, really, although the last story in it is called Something to Stand For. And I did write that shortly after the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. And I didn't write it because I was necessarily angry with him. I wrote it because I was just amazed at how the arguments were being framed and about how quickly the sides had been drawn up. And to your point, I think the micro example is great. The macro example is...
I thought you said micro.
Yeah, micro's terrific. I just can't get enough of that guy. Everywhere I go, there it is. But yeah, sometimes your mom takes one position and sometimes your dad takes the other. And, I thought as a kid that was always happening simply because that's really what they believed and really who they were. But later I realized that's not true. They were always trying to present some sort of weird balance of power. Sometimes one would be permissive and the other would be restrictive, right? And oftentimes that evolved. And so in the country, it's similar, I think. We have to be able to function in a way that acknowledges a modicum of shared beliefs. Now, maybe it's a border. Maybe it's the pledge. Maybe it's the national anthem. Maybe it's the reverence for Memorial Day. Maybe, we can throw out any number of things, but I think that what's going on that macro level is that whatever is on your list of things, that list is shorter now than it's ever been. And so nobody wants a lecture. Nobody wants a sermon. I've got opinions, and you don't do a movie unless you want to share some of those opinions. But I'm so glad to hear you say what you said, because, first and foremost, it's either entertaining or it's not.
Yeah, it's so a lot of movies, you get to minute 22 and you're like, do you care about this character and where they're going to be 45 minutes from now? And if the answer is no, then why not tap out now, right? And it's really hard, because I've made a few movies, it's really hard to stop 15 minutes in and go, do you care?
Yeah.
But you have to say, yes, I want to know what happens to this person, what happens in their life, or these events. I want to see how they
you have to
unfold.
care about something, right?
Yes.
It might not be that character. It might be the plot. It might be the biography. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to care.
You have to care.
You have to be rooting for something.
Yes, and these stories, I mean, there's a sort of fiduciary duty where you just go, look, as an American, I should know these names and these stories and these events, just sort of, it doesn't even make you patriotic. It's just a sort of, what's the difference between the Merrimack and the Monitor or something? Like, I guess you should know if you live in this country.
Sure.
so you care about the stories. You know, there's also a fun game where you're trying to guess, you know, who the guy 6'4". That was real tall for back then. Who might that tall guy be? I don't remember a lot of tall guys from my history books. And you start getting little clues along the way. But also, you know that the next one is coming down the pike. And even if you've have a mild interest in this story, the next one's coming in 4 minutes, and that'll be captivating. And they were all captivating. And without breaking it down, I think there were about 8 stories, 9 stories, as I recall. All bite-sized, all fast-moving. Mike did a masterful job of sort of popping in and popping out again, and you know, showing up and then stepping back. And just thoroughly enjoyable. And I think you know, I would say you'll be a better American and a better person if you watch this movie.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
Can I put that on the website?
Yes.
Can that be your official quote?
That's my official quote.
Oh, no,
something to stand for.
Do you remember, did you ever take a field trip? I mean, I know you grew up out here, so... I mean, do you remember the first time you went to D.C.? Statuaries, monuments.
Well, so growing up out here, we didn't get to Gettysburg. We went to the Laurie seasoning plant in Eagle Rock, California, and looked at how taco seasoning was manufactured and packaged. Literally, we'd go to Alvera Street, you know, and I'd go, why are we going to Alvera Street? And they go, well, it's a whole Mexican community. And I'd go, I look out my window, I see, that's all I see. The guy's mowing the lawn right now. Talk to him.
It's so authentic.
Yeah, it's so authentic. You know, like people in the San Fernando. It's called the San Fernando Valley, where I grew up. Do I really need to make the pilgrimage to Alvera Street to get an authentic taco?
Right.
And go across the street for that? We did a lot of that. The first time I went to D.C., I lived a very poor, meager, blue collar, as you know, life, construction site, kind of working man kind of stuff, drove a truck and everything for my whole beginning half of my life. And then finally got into show business, and at some point went to our affiliate, WHFS, I think it was, in D.C., probably around 97, 98. I was probably, 33 or something, and got to D.C. and saw then all the monuments and all the things that I'd only seen in movies and TV, mostly being blown up.
Right.
Alien ships and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I only ask because, like, I lived in Manhattan for a while, long enough and close enough to the Statue of Liberty to have no excuse for never having not gone. But I never went, you know. And I grew up in Baltimore, and so the only other time that I went to D.C. to see these specific sites was when I got loaded into the big yellow bus and dragged there in the 7th grade. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to go back and really kind of relive that exact route, although there's some new monuments now, because, you just process them so differently. I don't know how your experience would be with the taco company today, necessarily.
Laurie seasoning.
Yeah. It's on my list, but
yeah, you'll get to it. But you don't want to do it too soon because you don't want to peak too early. That's what I did. I peaked out in the 6th grade, and it's been kind of a downhill journey since then.
But I mean, that's the other thing that I wonder. You've got kids in school. I don't. But, like, do they still do that? Will they load you up in a bus and take you to the Capitol and get you out?
No, they don't. You of all people, and me, secondly, I was driving my daughter and her friends to go see the Bircham premiere.
Congrats, by the way, and thank you for the shout-out.
You're welcome.
Made me spit my coffee back in my glass.
What was the Mike Rowe on that?
You were on the phone, and somebody was panicking because their kid didn't want to go to college, and they were sitting home watching Mike Rowe videos and doing some other, whatever tawdry things.
And I was driving my daughter and a friend, they were seniors in high school. I said, well, this guy's a shop teacher. And they went, what's that? And I said, oh, come on, you got shop. And they're like, we don't have shop. And I'm like, you got auto shop, right? No, they don't have shop, and they don't go on field trips, and they don't do any of the mundane kind of procedural, boring kind of parts of life that turn out to be meaningful, but at the time feel very sort of, let's get on the bus and go down here and then go look at this and talk to the boring old guy who's the park manager who's going to tell you about when the monument was constructed and it's made out of limestone, which was quarried in, and like your eyes glaze over. And then at some point you appreciate that sort of part of life. They don't do that. It's all fast. The part where there is no shop, and I know this is an important subject for you, and it's very important for me as well. That's all bygone era. Certainly in Southern California.
Yeah.
Maybe in other parts of the country.
It's coming back. I mean, we've seen the needle move with my foundation over the last 16 years now, which is super gratifying. And the funny thing is the big universities have never made it easier to promote trade schools than they are right now. My God, talk about self-inflicted sabotage.
They were a Tiffany brand, and we just found out that all their purses were made in China, like a sweatshop.
It's
or
like
something.
gold-plated. It's not real.
It's interesting what they did to themselves in they went full Bud Light, essentially, in the blink of an eye, historically and sort of practically. I mean, I've never seen some entity lose it's as if the Dallas Cowboys went from a $6 billion organization to 2.7 million in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, or if they stopped training their players to play football and instead focused on something else entirely. I think about all of it as a kind of brand manager, right? Because the diploma is a product. It is for sale, and it ultimately is transactional. And you're charging a hell of a lot of money for it, and you're implicit in the bargain. You're conferring something, right? And so all of that has been called into question. All of it. I just had this conversation yesterday with the guy that went through our foundation. It's a plumber. And he's like, look, man, it's very, very difficult to sit quietly at home and hear about a student loan forgiveness program that is going to benefit Harvard graduates, right, who are not currently working in their chosen field, but have this massive amount of debt, when the underlying institution is sitting on $52 billion in an endowment. You put yourself in the place of a guy making 130 grand a year, busting his ass, raising his family. That's a bitter pill, and that's just one. Throw in the plagiarism stuff, throw in the protesting, whatever side of that you're on. That's not a Tiffany brand. You're right.
No, I was in Timonium,
Maryland.
Yes,
sure.
A couple weeks ago doing shows, and I thought of you because a couple of nice guys after the show always go out, take pictures and sign books and whatnot. Two kind of guys, knock around guys like showed up. Oh, big fans. We're electricians. They always tell me their trade. I go, what do you guys make an hour? $54 an hour. I go, that's pretty damn good compared to the Chicano Studies major who
$2,200 a week
left.
That's $110,000 a year.
Yeah,
and no debt probably. It's
No, I also was talking to my friend Mike on the way in that there is a new movement, which is a kind of blue collar chic, where guys are getting into the trades, making good money, like making videos, and so the ship is turning around.
Look, man, it's too early for a victory lap, but I mean, headline news this morning in the Wall Street Journal: Gen Z, right? They're talking about the tool belt generation. Believe it or not, right? This cohort that's basically become the punching bag, in so many different ways, deservedly so in so many different ways, but they've done the math. They're doing the calculus now, and they don't have 30 years of inertia pushing them into this idea that the best path for the most people is the most expensive path. They can go on TikTok, they can go on YouTube, they can see the electricians that you just talked about, the plumbers, the steam fitters, the pipe fitters, the HVAC guys who are basically, every HVAC guy I know today is setting his own schedule and making six figures. Right. So they're looking at all that, and then they're looking at, frankly, they're looking not just at the cost, but there is a conversation that's reaching everybody. And it's when you see guys like Bill Ackman holding on to tens of millions of dollars in donations that he decides, no, not this year, Harvard, not going to do it. That's a long list of people. And I've contacted them personally and said, hey, if the money's burning a hole in your pocket, we award work ethic scholarships, $2 million a year. You know, it's a rounding error for you at your next lunch. Give it to me. Give it to me. And I promise you, the schools that our people go to get trained in these jobs, no one's burning flags. No one's defacing statues. No one's, it just doesn't happen there.
Right.
Because they're focused on doing something that's so much more primal.
Well, you know, they have an engagement that comes with using your hands and sort of being on your feet and also using your mind that takes up most of your bandwidth versus sitting in the cubicle and sort of doom scrolling and trying to figure out who to blame next for whatever event happened around the world or here. And I don't think that people understand the relationship that has with mental stability. I see it all the time. I'm a little bit of a broken record, but I work with the blue collar folks and then I work with the creative folks. And then when something like COVID comes around, I see how they respond, and the blue collar guys handle it a lot better emotionally.
Yeah.
And something I want to talk to you about is I had this thought, which is we used to have a relationship with danger, and your mind works that out when you work on a farm or you work building a skyscraper, Brooklyn Bridge, or whatever it is. It's like every single tool that I used presented some benefit with some danger. And so it was always a kind of a like, well, I could use the router to round over and break this wood edge, but the router's pretty torquey and it'll bite you. The routers kind of quietly, routers are the hippos of the tool world, which is they quietly fuck up more people than you think. You know, they're not the tigers. The tigers are like the table saws, but the spinning blade stuff. But it's really the ones that'll bite you. But so you sort of weigh it out, and then you go, should I wear goggles? Should I wear ear protection? Should I wear face shield? This piece of wood that I'm taking this router to, should I clamp it down, or can I just kind of one-hand it, sort of press it down? I was always to one-hand it, move it faster. But still, there's a big difference between what the router did, what the bandsaw did, what the table saw did. Even the table saw was sort of like, am I going to take my bare hand and push this piece of oak through the table saw, or am I going to use the push stick to push it through? And the answer is well, if between the fence and the blade is less than 3 inches, maybe 2 inches, I'll get the stick out. But if it's 3 inches, I can just kind of push it through with my finger. But it was a lot of constant weighing of danger. And there wasn't an option where someone said, look, just don't use the table saw. You just cut it by hand. That's the safest way to do it. You'd go, yeah, but it takes so long. I'm just going to do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh the danger versus the speed of whatever it is. And every time you'd work on the side of the house, it'd be like, well, it'd be safer if you set up the scaffolding. Yeah, but that's going to take a while. How about I just lean the ladder? Okay, but don't reach out too far once you're leaning that ladder. Maybe have someone hold it, whatever. We've got away from that. We all got into cubicles. We all started crunching numbers and working in this sort of imaginary fields. And then we lost our relationship with danger. And so when something like COVID came around, we went, shut all the schools, go home and stay home. And everyone was like, I need to cut the wood. And they went, no, we're going safe. We're going as safe we can be it. It's like, you want to make it as safe as you can make it and keep the schools open, not as safe as you can make it and go home.
It's the unintended consequence of a safety first culture.
Yes.
Right? I mean, safety first is everywhere. Safety first, if you Google it, you'll see banners. You can't find a Fortune 500 company who won't tell you at some point in time that their goal, their number one priority is to look after their people and to keep them safe.
In the vernacular too. I was leaving a movie theater at night the other day, and I was like, the lady was by the door, she goes, stay safe. And I'm like, I'm just walking to my car in Culver City, and then I'm
what
going
were you
home.
going to do? What do you think I was about to attempt?
Rev up that motorcycle and see
Drive
if I
like
can
a nut, have a few drinks.
see if I can clear those buses at Wembley.
I just flew in, on a big carrier you've been on 1,000 times, and on the back of the seat in front of me, it said, "Your safety is our priority."
Right.
Now, that's a lie, right? That's what happens when actuarials and HR get together with attorneys. They lie to you, and they tell you absolutely that, nothing breeds complacency faster than thinking somebody else cares more deeply about your well-being than you do.
Right.
So the unintended consequences of a safety-first culture led us to do a special on dirty jobs. This was back in 2008, I guess, called Safety Third. Mm-hmm. And boy, did it piss people off, right? Because it told the truth. It said, look, wouldn't you like it if the pilot came on and said, "Hey, folks, welcome on, strap in, good news. My name's Frank. I've been married for 20 years to a wonderful woman. I love her. I got 3 kids, and there's nothing in this world that matters more to me than seeing them." So just so we're clear, my priority during the next 4.5 hours as we defy gravity and fly through the air in an aluminum tube is to get home to my family. You people are strapped in and along for the ride. Congratulations. Don't give the flight attendants any crap. I'll see you on the ground. That would fill me with so much more trust, affection, and most importantly, common sense than the big giant bowl of warm milk they hand you.
Right.
You want the truth of the plane? Take out your ticket, flip it over, and read the fine print, the carriage of travel, where you basically understand that you are taking your life in your hands. And there are a great many physical forces at work here that may or may not conspire to get you to your destination and so forth. The truth is now in the fine print. The lie is big and shining and right in your face and on billboards. And look, what you're talking about, there's actually a lot of science in it. A guy named Good, I believe, up in Canada, wrote a piece on homeostatic risk years ago. And the short version is this. Everybody in this studio, everybody you know, has a slightly different risk equilibrium in their brain. So we all have a slightly different tolerance, and that tolerance is always in flux because we're constantly adjusting for our environment. So you ride a motorcycle, you got your helmet on, you got your leathers on. Every single piece of research suggests that you take the corners a little tighter than you would if you were naked with no helmet at all, right? They put ABS brakes in half the taxis in Germany a couple of years ago, and regular brakes in the other half, and then they put in sensors to monitor every single decision the driver made. Without question, everybody with the better brakes drove faster, cornered tighter, and had more accidents. So the unintended consequence of injecting safety protocols into a behavior was completely contrary to the goal. So to your point with COVID, all of that kind of came home to roost. It's like the intersections, the most dangerous intersections in the world have crosswalks and the little man who tells you when to walk.
Yes.
The safest have neither.
Yeah, no, because you're left on your own, and like the pilot who wants to see his family, you want to see your family. So having the man and right and then left again. Yeah, 100%. I've always said this about ATVs. That's where all the accidents are, because when you take a dirt bike and you hold it up and you let it go, it falls over.
Yeah.
ATV doesn't fall over. And I've seen, plenty of guys riding the dirt bikes with the chest protector and the Jofa and the helmet and the elbow pads and the gloves and everything. And I've seen plenty of guys on ATVs with a 12-pack in between their legs and like flip-flops and board shorts, and their son, sitting on the 12-pack, no helmet, no shirt. And you're like, that's how these guys get fucked up, because there's some illusion of this thing is safer. It's in a weird way. We're there on many subjects. For instance, most people, I would reckon that most people who live in Southern California, let's just pick Santa Monica. Most mothers would rather their teenage sons, smoke pot than vape tobacco or nicotine. And it's like, well, one of those things is going to screw the kid up badly. The other is nicotine and water vapor.
Right.
But they've waged a campaign, and it's been effective. And I've had many a conversation when I'm like, it's just nicotine. It's like caffeine, And the other thing has 10 times more THC than it had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And is really going to screw up your 17-year-old son. But that's their relationship. And that's sort of the same with the ATV. They go, I don't want my kids smoking. Well, it's not smoking, it's vaping. Well, I don't want them getting addicted to the nicotine. Okay,
Yeah.
but the nicotine is inert. Like, it doesn't do anything to them. Now, let them smoke the weed. That's natural.
The other thing, too, that factors into this is our love affair with compliance, right?
Yes.
And, the great truth that only now exists in fine print is something along the lines of just because you're in compliance doesn't mean you're out of danger.
Right.
And this is it's a different kind of a trap, but it happens all the time. I remember once on Dirty Jobs, not once. I mean, this is why we did the special. I was forced to wear a life preserver when I was standing in water below my knees,
Right.
working on a clean out.
Right.
Simply because it said, if you're standing in water over 6 inches, you must have a life preserver on.
Right.
All right. So that's just stupid. It's not dangerous. It's just stupid. What's stupid was a couple weeks later, I was up on a roof. We were hot tarring a roof. You ever done that little slice of heaven?
Hot mopping.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
that's the worst.
It's the worst. It is hard work.
Yeah, because you bucket up liquid tar. First off,
And gravel, man.
the fact that you do a shower in 2024, and there's a very good chance you're going to hire a hot mopper to come in there and mop that pan. They have synthetic stuff now and all that, but basically a hot mopper. Tar is the oldest substance known to man.
It's like an asphalt.
It's like the oldest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
When it finally cooled, there was tar before any other substance on the planet. And yet there's a guy in 2024 with a mop, by the way.
Smearing
It's
it around.
not a tar mop. It's just a mop.
Yeah.
And he's just got a bucket of this liquid tar, and he's just going to mop it up. But sorry, you're up on the roof.
Well, except now we call it asphalt because we're evolved
Yes.
and modern, which is
Yes.
a great word if you break that down, right?
But it's
Ass
still
and
called-
fault. I mean, it's perfect.
They still call them hot moppers, though, don't they?
They're still hot moppers and they're still fiercely proud. But we wound up doing this job.
My favorite hot mopper is a guy standing over the smoking
Yeah.
kettle, and he's got a cigarette hanging out. And he's putting the molten tar with the tar,
You're not
literally
gonna
the
believe
tar.
this. No one believes this, but I swear it's true. We were leaving an ostrich farm in Victorville, and we were on our way. I was on my way out of LA, going home. The crew was with me, and we drove past that guy on the side of the road, standing there, cigarette in his mouth. It was 6:30 in the morning. It was already hot.
Right.
And he's smoking a cigarette and all. I said, guys, pull over, man. We just have to talk to this guy. And he turned out to be the owner of the company, and he knew the show. And he was like, man, we should do something together sometime. And I'm like, how about today? So we scramble the troops and we do this whole show on roofing, and it was great. It was it was to this day it's the only episode of Dirty Jobs that has no VO in it because it's simply not necessary.
Right.
You just follow the action and watch in wonder as these guys work circles around each other. Well, when we were done, there was another roofing job going on right next door. And it wasn't hot mopping. It was just these guys. It was a sloped roof. And then it sort of leveled out about 5.5 feet off the ground. And I went over and talked to that guy. And I said, look, I want to shoot some stand-ups over here so we can get an angle of the thing we just shot. Can I use your roof, basically? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So the crew's with me. And we go up there. And I come down this roof. And, they're super, super safe. They've got all the lines in place, and I'm tied off because at the top, I'm 50 feet up. But down on the flat part, where I'm 5 feet off the ground, I'm 5 feet off the ground.
Right.
So I take all my gear off, and I turn to the camera, and I start to say what I'm going to say. And guys, the safety officer runs over and goes, whoa, stop. We can't film this. I'm like, can't film it. He goes, well, you can't film it unless you're tied off. So, all right. So I take the lanyard, which is one of those stretchy ones, right? So it's about 4 feet long, but it stretches to another 4 feet.
Right.
Now, I can see you're doing the math in your head. I am now in compliance. I am tied off with a 4-foot stretchy lanyard about 5 feet off the ground.
Right.
Now, whether or not I should be tied off, we could debate. But nobody in their right mind would say that a piece of rope that is longer than the fall.
Right.
So I make this point, and the guy's like, he literally looks at me and smiles and goes, well, safety first. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, it's just compliance. We have to, this must be done. And the reason I'm ranting for a bit is because what's happened in the last couple of years in our country is exactly that feeling. That common people who are aware of their situation have looked around and said, why am I being forced to wear a lanyard that will not break my fall?
Right.
And the answer is because it's a law, it's a rule. And when you ask a country of people to follow a long list of rules that are no longer rooted in anything that seems like reality, then you're going to push reason to the precipice. And before long, you're going to have conversations like the one you just had with Riley Gaines, who I talked to last week, too.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the whole country is going to be sitting here going, look, I'm looking at the fastest female swimmer in the world, and she appears to have a penis. Now,
Right.
What do we do with that? Do we acknowledge it or don't we? And there's going to be a price to pay for not acknowledging it.
Well, I was shouting at maybe Dr. Drew earlier today, which I do. I drive and I yell at him.
What is he up to, man? Every time I go on the internet, he's always working out with that guy whose name I don't know. The abs and
He's working out and talking to me on the phone. That's about all I know. I can't speak for the rest of his life. But I'll ask him.
Tell him I said hello.
And Mike said
he's shredded, man.
He's always been Dr. Dreamy. But, I said to him, a lot of this stuff I don't like, because when people go, what's wrong with, so just tie off, you're 5 feet above the ground, who cares, just tie it off, put the vest on, you know what I mean? Just put the mask on, but it's paper, and the person that's telling me to put the mask on has got it twisted around their ear, and now there's a 7/8 gap. I can see their mouth move when they're telling me I need to wear, just do it, like, what's wrong with it? And I said to him, I feel this way about Pride Month or writing symbols in the streets or end racism in the end zone or something. I said it satiates, and I don't want it satiating. I got an airbag in my car so I can text while I drive. Like I'll be safer. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you shouldn't be texting and driving. You're having an illusion of safety. So this, we've declared that February is Women's Month. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we have Women's Month. Okay, but are there problems? We're celebrating women. And it's like, okay, but that's not specific enough, and it may not fix the problems that we're looking to fix, but it satiates. And then so everyone goes out, does their march, goes home, says, what were you marching for? They go, I don't really know, but we're done. And I'm like,
and then March is here, and we're all handsy and rapey and disrespectful.
That's
again.
right.
March
rolls around.
Right.
Yeah, now it's our month. So the payback's a bitch, ladies. So I don't like all the movements. I don't like the safety movements, and I don't like the societal movements, because I feel they satiate. And they kind of, you should go, look, we have problems. Okay, there are safety problems. Every single thing I did the entire time I worked construction was unsafe, and had some accidents and some near misses and some stuff that could have been fatal. And there were things to focus on, but it wasn't being 5 foot off the carpet with a bungee cord. That wasn't it. And it would have taken away from what needed to be focused on.
That's exactly it. If we're going to take that amount of time talking about the importance of being in compliance with behaviors that aren't going to have any kind of material outcome. That's what happened with masks.
Right.
And for a lot of people, that's what happened with mandates.
Right.
Right? Because it's like, look, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, whoa, wait a second. I feel like you just gave me a 6-foot rope to tie off on a 5-foot drop.
Right.
And so can somebody just take a moment to be persuasive? Just take a moment to persuade me. Don't just order me. I can think. I can reasonably come to some conclusion myself. This is the other thing when you were talking about the societal pushes and things. I think that in the same way people don't want to be forced to comply with a rule that ultimately won't save them, we also don't want to be told things that we already know to be true.
Yes.
In a cookie cutter way. Like, oh Christ, I can't believe I'm going here, but like Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. I had this conversation at length shortly after that came out. I'm like, look, I don't object to it, but the part that I don't quite understand is why you think I don't know that.
Well,
you don't know me.
And it also suggests that we live in a sort of evil society, which is the example I would use is if I just turned on sports and watched European soccer matches and there was scrawled on the field, "End malaria," I would think, well, Argentina's got a problem with malaria.
I would think so.
And evidently, it's a pretty big problem.
Big problem.
Because I'm seeing it everywhere. And the guy took a knee for malaria, and the guy's wearing a patch on his jersey for malaria. And
Something
I'm like,
to stand for,
right.
malaria.
And
right?
I'm like, okay, Argentina's got a big problem with malaria. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to Argentina. And it's not a good way to eradicate malaria.
This bag is not a toy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I've seen that in giant block letters.
Yes.
And I've seen it proclaimed as if, you know what? We took a survey, we looked around, and we were stunned to learn that 95% of children are playing with bags. And the parents are okay with it. Something has to be done. So every bag, right? Every bag, every single thing. You watch a pharmaceutical commercial, which, by the way, shouldn't be on the air anyway, but 45 seconds of contraindications and everything from total renal failure to profound lower GI disappointment to frothing at the mouth. It's like, what are we doing?
A couple things. I heard the one I always circle back to and enjoy the most is the automobile commercial with the closed course professional stunt driver, do not attempt. And I'm like, this guy's driving a minivan straight down a highway at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So you tell me I can't attempt?
Yeah.
How am I going to get the car back from the dealership if I can't attempt to drive it? Like, and so the world that I could live in is if you want to do a Mini Cooper commercial where Charlie Sheen drives a Mini Cooper through his mansion and down a flight of stairs, and then you want to do professional driver, closed course, do not attempt. I don't want it there, but I'll go, all right, maybe somebody's drunk enough to try this in a Mini Cooper. But if you're just driving through the Sequoias with your family in the minivan, I do not want to see closed course, do not attempt underneath that. And the problem with it is once it gets somewhere, it gets everywhere, and it just is. And Mike Rowe, I called the Malibu Anawalt lumber the other day. Mm-hmm. Because I'm keeping it real, but I'm doing it from Malibu.
Okay, sure.
And I said to him, do you have pressure-treated lumber? Mm-hmm. I'm sure you know what that is. Mm-hmm. And I said, do you have 3/4 CDX good one pliers, good one side pliers, shop-grade plier, whatever? And they go, we got it. And I said, we have everything. And I said, all right, I think I'm going to come over there and get some of that stuff. And then they said, because they're Malibu lumber and everyone's driving a Tesla, they go, we can cut the plywood. They're used to cutting stuff because people aren't showing up in dualies with lumber racks, So they go, but we can't cut the pressure treated 2x4s. And I said, I don't want them cut, but you can't cut them? No, it's an OSHA issue because there's some chemical. That's it. Now, I'm going to buy 3 of them and take them home and cut them in the garage, but you can't cut it there. And I just realized there's just a rule for everything. It's safety uber alles, and people don't realize that it's stifling. It's like saying, let the young boys wrestle in the backyard. What if one of them gets hurt? I don't know. What if both of them grow up to be pussies their entire life because they never had this and they never learned how to regulate aggression? And I get what everyone is saying. It always reminded me when they go, the safest form of sex, abstinence. Like, yeah, okay. Let me keep writing.
Yeah,
What's the safest form of travel? Not leaving the house? Like, that's essentially like just say no.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, it doesn't work. It has a reverse effect, like you said when you were talking to me about the cab drivers in Germany. I was thinking about football helmets.
Absolutely. Take them off. Take them off and watch the head injuries go down.
When they were wearing the leather helmets, they were not spearing and leading with their heads.
Cars are safer in the driveway, and boats are safer in the harbor, and people are safer in their basement. But cars, boats, and people were not meant to stay in driveways, berths, and harbors and basements. It's just not the way it is. And if you truly believe safety first is the thing, let me tell you when safety first actually hit its zenith. For me, it was when two things. The first thing was years ago in a Ford commercial. I was sitting in an F-150, probably shot 300 of these things. And early on, I'm sitting there. We're parked. And I'm behind the wheel. And I turn to the camera and start making sounds and say, cut. They run over. I had to put the safety belt on.
Oh, right.
Now, the car's
Parked.
and off.
Oh, and off.
It's off. It's
Wow.
not even running. It didn't matter. Ford's
Right.
policy was, you're in the car. We can't possibly show you. I mean, it wasn't even a conversation. We can't show you in a car and not buckled up. So that's the infantilization of society. But I thought of that moment a few years ago when Andrew Cuomo stared into the lens and was asked to explain the logic of the severity of the limitations and the lockdowns he had just ordered. And he said something along the lines of
One person.
no policy, however draconian, can be deemed wrong if it saves the life of a single person.
That drives Dr. Drew.
I
insane,
found
by the way.
so I'm screaming.
I'm screaming too.
I'm like, okay, here you go. Eliminate left-hand turns, drop the speed limit to 15 miles an hour,
Right.
and mandate helmets for all drivers. Guess what? You just saved 35,000 lives a year.
Right.
Why haven't you done that?
I completely agree. And the problem is many people in our society nod their head when I remember, I don't know why those pops in my head, but I was doing a crank anchors call once, and I didn't know who I was talking to, a mortuary or something. And I just said, I lost my mom. And I said, no child should ever have to bury a parent. And they went, I know. Like they're just like nodding along, and I realized, you understand, I just said complete nonsense to you, but I said it in such a way where everyone just went, oh, yeah, no. Yeah, if you lose one person, that's one too many. And whatever rules, I'll lock this city down and I'll end our economy if it means saving one elderly, arthritic, cancer-ridden person.
I said to Riley when I talked to her, I said, you are the kid in Hans Christian Andersen's The Emperor's New Clothes. Mm-hmm. You are the one in the town square, surrounded by the townspeople, who finally said, look, I don't know what you guys are talking about. That dude's naked.
Right.
And, good for her, but the thing I'm really worried about, truly, is the townspeople. It's us.
It's the townspeople.
It's like, yes. You just put it right in my head when you were just sitting there nodding your head, because that's what the townspeople did. Yes, his clothes are so beautiful. Yes,
right.
So yes, no child should ever have to bury a parent. Yes, the bag is not a toy.
Right.
Yes. We are being coddled, and we are being infantilized, and it's happening like the frog in the boiling water. A little more every day. The temperature goes up and up and up, and I think you're 100% right when you talk about H. sapiens' relationship with risk. That's the only four-letter word that matters anymore, because without a willingness to assume it, the planes never fly, the cars never drive, the boats never sail, and we are still double masked and down in the basement forever and ever.
I think, I'll take a quick break, but I got many thoughts. Mike Rowe's here, Something to Stand For, great new film. Comes out nationwide beginning June 27th, so please support this. Well, don't even support, just go enjoy it. How about that?
That's great. Don't beg them.
It's not homework.
Don't beg them.
It's fun. We'll take a quick break. Back with Mike Rowe right after this. Doomberg, the #1 financial newsletter on Substack. Concise, entertaining, provocative articles on energy and finance and geopolitics. More than 230 subscribers, 6 to 8 articles a month. I just read Cooking the Books, Exposing the Lunacy of the Green New Math. It's a good read, and I couldn't have read about this anywhere else. So visit Doomberg.com, Doomberg.com/Adam, and enter your email. You'll get previews of all the other articles and 5 free articles in a welcome email to get you a flavor of what Doomberg is all about. That's Doomberg.com/Adam. Get the 5 free articles. Doomberg.com/Adam. All right, back with Mike Rowe. I got in an argument with someone over the week when they were talking about signing some piece of paper, and the person didn't want to sign it. And then I said, I wouldn't have signed it either. And then they said, why don't you sign it? There's a lot of just do this thing. And I said to the person, I can't say that because this warehouse we're sitting in, and I'm not saying this to impress anybody, but we need to sort of slowly claw back our society, sort of one person at a time. And Riley Gaines is great. There are more people sort of bubbling to the surface that are able to speak a little sanity to a world that's just given away to the lawyers and legislators and stuff like that. But the warehouse you're sitting in right now, I bought this warehouse in 2002. And it had a tenant in it, and the guy did flooring work. It's always flooring guys in warehouse, but he did flooring. And seemed okay guy, but I bought the warehouse, and I was anxious to put a wood shop in where we're sitting right now is where I built a sort of wood corral. And I wanted to put a hoist in the back and do some car stuff and all that. And I bought it, and the guy had 10 months left on his lease. But when I bought it, I had to introduce myself to the guy because now I'm the new owner of the building and he's got 10 months left on his lease. And I don't even remember what the payment was, but he said, I'm looking for a new place. I'm looking to purchase a place. I said, oh, good, because I'm looking to move my tools in here. So when you find a new place,
let me know.
Grab it. And I'll let you right out of that lease and come down here and I'll start setting my tools up. I said, okay. So it was a couple of months later, he contacts me. He goes, I got a place. I bought it. I'm in escrow and what have you. And so I need out of my lease. And I said, you're out of your lease. Consider it done. And he said, fine, just come down here and sign some papers so I can be out of my lease. And I said, I told you you're out of your lease. I want to take this place over. And he said, yeah, but, I got 7 months left and that would be, $41,000 or something like that. I don't know what it is, but you got to understand, I got to protect myself. And I said, you got to understand, I gave you my word. I told you you're out of your lease and you're out of your lease, but I'm not signing anything. And he said, well, if you don't sign something, then I'm not going anywhere. I said, well, that'll be your decision. But I bet you do go somewhere. But I'm not signing anything, but you're free to leave.
Yeah.
And he just left.
Yeah.
And that was, 19 years ago.
Yep.
And we need a little more of that. I'm not a beacon of virtue. I'm just saying, I told you this. I looked in the eye, gave my word, and now we're good because I told you this. And we don't need to get lawyers involved with every single possible facet of life.
Dude, my buddy Chuck is back there in your warehouse, listen to this, just laughing because this has been my Sisyphean quixotic thing from the minute Dirty Jobs started. Everybody has to sign a release to be on TV. You got to sign a release to be on a podcast. You got to sign a release to do anything. And most people in the business understand, right? But still, Discovery had a release that I had to sign once that said something along the lines of, you agree to assign us the rights to this work product in all media created and yet to be created in all countries on planet Earth and all planets in the known galaxy and solar system and those unknown.
Really?
I swear to God.
That is insane.
Right. And so you look at
what
that.
year was this?
This was last Friday. No, this would have been 2004, I guess.
Wow.
Now, by comparison, that same year, a guy named Jeremiah Sullivan, who you should meet, he invented the shark suit. And I made one with him, those
chainmail.
Yeah, right. And then we tested it. So, you make the chum, the sharks come, you jump in the feeding frenzy, and you let them bite you, right? Now, that release was amazing from his company. It says, I agree that I'm about to engage in a truly ill-advised behavior. I agree that the odds of getting bit are roughly 100%, and that some very bad things could follow, including my death.
Wow.
That's it.
That's it.
So like the first release, you laugh because it's so absurd, right? That you sign it anyway. That thing actually made me go, hey, whoa, you're telling me the truth. Just like the back of the carriage ticket.
Right.
Right? Just like the sign on Mount Washington that says, last year, 12 people died on the other side of the sign. That's how quickly the weather changes. You should turn around right now.
Right.
Like, people still know the truth when they hear it, and we're starved for it.
Yeah, it's funny because I sold my house recently, and I think the document was about 86 pages that I had to sign. And I was like, I seem to remember my first house was about 6 pages, and now we're up to 86. And one of the documents to sign was I'd promised I'd never smoked or vaped inside of the house.
What about indoor plumbing? I mean, is crapping okay?
That's there's a fill in the punchline,
God, Lord,
du jour. But it's just, it's lawyers, more lawyers, scared people, a lack of dignity, a lack of character, and a lack of sort of, my word was my bond. I mean, one of the stories you chronicled in the movie was a guy who was slandered by someone who went with a pseudonym in the newspaper, and he challenged a guy to a duel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great story, but I mean, people had dignity, and it was a big deal for people.
So,
my word is my bond.
I wonder, I didn't live back then, obviously. I hope it's obvious, but, I wonder if the existence of dueling, which was really pretty commonplace, had a direct impact on manners.
Oh, I think much like the helmets in football and the airbags and the crumple zones in cars, getting punched kept people in line. I don't mean duels, obviously more than that, but I mean just physically
consequences.
Getting just any consequence.
This is absolutely right. So if you remember the show Truth or Consequences,
sure.
Well, you take the consequences out, there is no truth, right? Why? If you can behave in a bar with impunity, if you can walk up to any woman, right, and say whatever you want, and knowing that the monster of a guy standing there isn't going to lay a hand on you, that's not how the universe is supposed to work. And the story you're talking about, without giving anything away, it was pistols at dawn. The man who was slandered went to this anonymous, very famous person and demanded satisfaction. Pistols at dawn. And this guy, he doesn't want to fight a duel, but he doesn't want to apologize either because he didn't tell an untruth. So the only way out of the situation is to actually escalate it. So my hero in the story says, okay, you want your satisfaction, you can have it, but never mind the pistols. Let's settle it. And by the way, there's a protocol in those days where the challenger in a duel doesn't get to select
the terms.
Yep. The challengee accepts the terms. So the terms went from pistols at dawn to broadswords in a pit.
Yeah.
We will dig a pit. We will draw a line in the center of it, and you will stay on your side of the line, and I'll stay on mine, and we will meet right at the line, and we will hack one another to bits, and we'll see who's left standing.
Yeah.
And now you can hear the sound of sphincters slamming shut, right? As people go, oh, now that's real.
Yeah.
Broadswords in a pit? Are you kidding me? Right?
Yeah. I mean, sort of the equivalent to you just raised me $60, and I said, "Oh, let's make it $6,000." Now you have to see how do you feel about your hand?
That's called calling.
It was funny. I just had this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday, which is I said, "Well, my parents never touched me. They never hit me. There's no punishment." And I said, I would find it weird hitting my son. Like I just don't think I could do it. Not even for moral reasons. It would be confusing to me. Like I'm going to punch my son. And I said, however, and I've never hit my kids, but however, my nanny, my girlfriend brought up the story. She goes, "Well, yeah, but you like the story when your nanny smacked your daughter that one time." And I said, "Well, yeah, because my daughter spit on her and the nanny smacked her."
Yeah.
And I said, "Good." And she said, "But you won't hit your kids. How do you justify that?" I said, "Well, she never spit at her ever again. That was it. She spit at her one time, I don't know, 2.5, 3, whatever, got whacked and never thought about it ever again." And I thought, that's good. It's good for her too, because you don't want to go through life spitting on nannies.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's a bad look.
Bad form. And the sting of the slap will wear off in 5 seconds, but she got a nice little lesson learned. And there's a cop version of that, and there's a societal version of that, and there's a guys, taggers and graffiti and stuff. There's a version of that we've decided that is no longer acceptable for anyone to get slapped. And my thing is no, spit in someone's face, get slapped, learn lesson, turn page, move on.
It's called the broken windows theory, basically, right? You ignore the broken window in a neighborhood, and then there'll be more broken windows, and then there'll be litter. And the more litter there is, and so forth. And the next thing you know, you've got a real crime problem.
Yeah.
Right? So it's deterrence. It's the threat of violence combined with occasional violence.
Right.
My dad never laid a hand on us, but I'll tell you what he did, man. I remember driving down to Ocean City, Maryland in the old Chevelle station wagon with the fake lumber on the side. His three boys.
Woody.
Yeah. Loaded in the back. And we were just a nightmare, beating up on each other and just not behaving, not listening. I remember him sighing and pulling over and walking to the side of the road, and he took a branch off a tree, and he walked over to the car, and he just stripped off the leaves one at a time, and got it to a point where it was about a 3.5 foot long switch. And I could still hear the sound of that thing cutting through the air, And he got back in the car, and he put it on the dashboard, never said a word, and neither did we.
Yeah.
So, different situations, different judgments, different temperaments, different protagonists. There is no playbook for this. You can't say, okay, teachers, let's go back to whacking kids. Because what kind of teacher are you talking about? What kind of, we couldn't trust a teacher today to administer corporal punishment. But why would we when we can't trust the media or the scientific community or our political class? Why? Trust is devolved in virtually every single institution. So all we're left with are the lawyers. All we're left with are the 600-page releases now. We're not left with anything that feels like goodwill or actual judgment. We're just left with the brute realities of protocol and compliances.
What do you, so what's your take? So I was, it was funny. So back to Dr. Drew, and he's not working out. He's talking to me. Oftentimes he's working out when I'm talking to him on the phone. Yeah.
Super sexy.
I can hear the weights clanking in the background. But I said, he said he always would go to me and go, "What's the future?" Because I was always kind of a soothsayer, I somehow could figure out where everything was heading, And so about 10 years ago, I said, safe spaces and octagons. That's where we're going. Half the people in Los Angeles drive a Prius. The other half drive a Ram pickup truck with a suspension lift on it, And that's, you create this, you get that. What you do is you try to force people into an electric car and you force people into a Ram dually, with monster mutter tires on it. And that's always going to happen. So I said, safe spaces and octagons. And the people are going to convalescent safe spaces who like that kind of, it's too much authority for me and I don't like it, but other people are just going to move to Florida and go somewhere that's less regulated and whatever. And then he pointed out to me the other day, he said, he goes, I think it was in New Jersey a couple of weeks ago, they had a big UFC fight and Trump walked in and the place went berserk, right? And he said, literally octagons now. Like you were just sort of figuratively going safe spaces and octagons, but the octagon crowd went berserk. And obviously, Joe Biden wouldn't have gotten that. He would have gotten the opposite of that, or maybe would have gotten a "Let's Go Brandon" chant going or something like that. And if Trump walked into to see a Broadway play, then he would have been booed, because that's what that crowd, if he went to go see Hamilton, then he would get booed horribly. So that's the safe space. The octagon is literally now the octagon. And is that just where we're going? Like, I know everyone goes, I don't want to live in that America. And I go, I don't either. But at a certain point, if COVID 2.0 comes around, you just got to move to Florida because I don't want to pull the kids out of school and not be able to go to the beach anymore.
Yeah. I guess culturally, I would agree with it totally. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. The mask stopped becoming a health accoutrement and became something else altogether.
Symbol.
It became a talisman. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, on the other side, if you see Oakley Blade sunglasses on top of a ball cap, we know how that guy votes.
Yeah. True. And you know what? Look, I think, even to the most overt, a MAGA hat. Okay, dude, your slip is totally showing here, right? So that's all happening, and I think it'll probably continue to happen, just because culture's so big, and because we have so many choices now. Every single thing is marketed through the lens of, does it reflect your expression of your persona? Right?
Oh yeah, listen, people drive Subarus. Not because they know anything about torque or horsepower or bonderized metal. They drive Subarus because that's their vibe. They've seen the commercial.
It's love, it's environment, and maybe they like their dog or something, whatever it is.
I always tell everyone, Subaru makes the lesbian wagon with the puppies in it, but the other thing they really make is attack helicopters for the Japanese army. So that's who Subaru is.
So safe spaces and octagons.
In Subaru's case.
That's right.
It's exactly right.
And I think that's more true than we know. I think everybody has a safe sort of, space. Like even the most badass Ultimate Fighter has some of that. But I think that right now the current rules that they are, you got to arbitrage that out of your identity, because the cognitive dissonance that comes from meeting a UFC champion who also drives a Subaru and wears two masks, it's too much for people.
There's, to even go a little bit deeper with the metaphor, my safe space is an octagon, which is, I like building, and there is nothing worse and more devastating than the permit program here in Los Angeles. It's just, once they get involved, they dictate everything. They tell you to do insane things. The amount of over-engineering is totally insane. It is a perfect metaphor for what we've been talking about, which is, I go, look, I'll put these pilasters or these columns on a pad, 2 foot by 2 foot, number 4 rebar. They'll go 3 foot by 3 foot, number 5 rebar. I'll go, it doesn't need that much. It's way over engineered. Like, I've done stuff up in the Hollywood Hills where I've sunk caissons, 9 feet into bedrock, 30 foot overall. They need, grade beams and stuff. It's Hitler's bunker. And I'm just building a garage with a deck on the roof. And they go, safety? We're an earthquake country. You can't play too safe. I go, you can, because at some point it can get too expensive and not practical. And the house was built in 1923. So I'm going to have this bunker next to a house that was, just toenailed down by drunken Irishmen with no earthquake plates or shear walls or anything on it. So what, where I'm going to be when the earthquake hits, in the house,
Sure.
in my bed.
Sure.
But you can over-regulate it to the point, and then as a guy who wants to build, I just want to build. I just want to be kind of left alone and do my thing. So the octagon would be my safe space because I want to do things. Goldberg, the wrestler, he lived out in San Diego or thereabouts. He wanted a big super garage with a gym in it and a hoist and everything like that. Well, he's in Texas because that's his safe space because that's what he wanted to build, and they wouldn't let him do that in SoCal.
This is look, everything you just described is happening in education. The identity of being a Harvard grad has nothing to do with what you actually learn at Harvard. It has everything to do with how you matriculate and the diploma and the connections that you make and so forth. And likewise, UTI, the automotive school, right? I mean, it's all of those schools come with really different identities. And I think like the real tragedy is that I have a liberal arts degree. It served me pretty well. I got it in 1984, 2 years at a community college, 2.5 years at a state school, and it cost $12,500. Today it costs $94,000, right? And so the result is you can't, with a straight face, tell kids to go get a liberal arts education because while it's valuable, it's not priceless. And so a lot of people don't get it. And I remember, you'll remember this too, it's 2015, I guess, the Republican debates, they're all on stage, right? And Marco Rubio had a line. I forgot what the question was, but his response was, you know what this country needs? We need more welders and fewer philosophers. So the crowd goes wild. And later that night, I go on my social stuff and thousands of people like, Mike, man, this guy's actually really singing your song. What do you think? And I'm like, no, that's not my song. I don't think the country needs more welders and fewer philosophers. I think it'd be nice if we had more welders who could talk intelligently about Nietzsche or Descartes or Kant. And I think it'd be nice if we had more philosophers who could run an even bead. I just say this because I agree with you. And if the safe space is here and the octagon is there and the Ivy League is here and the trade schools are there, and we just keep separating the things that really make a journeyman, a true journeyman, or a Renaissance man or woman, right? That's what we need today, and that's my answer to your question. I mean, if you're like, what do we have to get back to? We have to get back to that two sides of the same coin thing where we have our safe space and our octagon. And we know that we're both those things. I still get questions to this day from skeptics who look at my foundation and say, okay, yeah, great. You gave $10 million away to help train the next generation of skilled workers. That's nice. But how do you explain the 8 years you spent in the opera, Mike Rowe? Mm-hmm. What the hell was that? And all that business at QVC when you were selling those things in the middle of the night. You must be a sellout or some sort of fairy singing in Italian. How is it? So people can't, they just can't get their head around any cognitive dissonance today. Mm-hmm. And it impacts everything we've talked about, in my view, from safety to the movie to patriotism versus politics. In 1998, 70% of Americans in every Gallup survey described themselves as intensely to extremely patriotic. Today, that same number is 38%.
I think that's featured in the movie.
I may have mentioned it. Yeah, I may have mentioned it.
I'm just hoping I don't have a tumor because I heard your voice say that recently.
Yeah,
and that's good. I mean, not good, but
no. I mean, it's good you don't have a tumor. That's awesome. But yeah, man. And look, it's not a disaster, right? I mean, patriotism isn't a thing all by itself. It's something else, and I think it's attached to gratitude somehow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gratitude is a big part of this. I also remind people all the time, when they're talking about the evils of the past and what we did to the indigenous people and slavery and Jim Crow. I'm always like, who are you comparing this country to? Because you can't compare it to an imaginary country that never existed. It'd be like if you had you have two brothers, or what?
I've got two younger brothers, yeah.
Yeah. So if there was a fourth imaginary brother who was on the dean's list and only ate vegan and was heading to Brown University and donated all his time down at the children's school or whatever, then you would be unfair to compare your 3.1 GPA to this brother that never existed who's a straight A student. You know what I mean? It has to live in some context. You know, every nation had some form of slavery. Every nation took some indigenous people and did something horrible to them. Every nation waged war on neighboring nations and so on and so forth. Like, they all had it. So compared to them, how do we rank? Not compared to this utopian nation that you never really explain. You know, that to me is a better way to approach this. Just like, how do you compare to your two brothers versus the imaginary brother that never existed?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the brothers who came from the same set of parents, not a different set of parents, or in a different country. All that external stuff matters a lot. But I think your GPA reference is interesting too. If you talk about context and perspective, in 1955, the average GPA for all Harvard grads was 2.55. Today, it's 3.99.
Wow.
Now, do you really think they're that much smarter today than they were then? Of course not. The standards are far lower than they've ever been. And inflation is not just a thing that impacts the cost of getting that degree. It's infecting the grades themselves, right? Like inflation, what do they call it? Credential inflation.
Right.
That's a thing. And it's as real as the phenomenon you're talking about. The thing I wonder about all the time now is, what in the hell is your great grandson going to think when he looks back 165 years at 2024, right? Which statues of today's beloved figures in current media are going to be pulled to the ground? Who are we going to look at? Like, what are we going to think of, I don't know, meat eaters?
Right.
160 years from now, are we going to look back? Is there going to be any grace? Is there going to be any charity? Will your forebears have the ability to judge you in the time you're living in? Or will they simply look at your virtues and your vices, and then based on your vices, eliminate your virtues, and then just scold you through the mists of time?
Well, there's, in the Bible, I can't remember which character they're talking about in the Bible, but they say he was a great man in his time. And even the Bible figured, we need to add a little something, that he wasn't just a great man. He was a great man in society, in the society he lived in it when he lived in it.
Right.
Which you need to do that. And we need to take one last quick break, and I'll answer all these questions and pose more with the great Mike Rowe right after this. Homes.com knows that when it comes to home shopping, it's never just about the house or condo. It's about the home. And what makes a home is more than just a house or property. It's the location. It's the neighborhood. If you have kids, it's also schools, nearby parks, transportation options, all the above. That's why Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth information they need to find the right home. And when I say in-depth, I'm talking about deep. That's right. Each listing features comprehensive information about the neighborhood, complete with a video guide. They also have details about local schools with test scores, state rankings, and student-to-teacher ratio. They even have an agent directory with the sales history of each agent. So when it comes to finding a home, not just a house, this is everything you need to know, all in one place. Homes.com. Homes.com. We've done your homework. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, in the business of keeping your car on the road, that's what they do. Friendly, helpful service and parts and all the knowledge you need. I love these guys. I've always, even before they became a sponsor, a million years. I mean, back when I was renting a house up in La Crescenta, I'd always go to O'Reilly up there on Foothill Boulevard. Still there. Just passed there the other day. Always get my stuff from O'Reilly. Thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online. Check engine light. Is that on? Well, don't ignore it. O'Reilly VersaScan is a free diagnostic service that provides a detailed, easy-to-read report. Need wipers replaced or a brake light fix? They can help you find the right part or point you in the nearest repair shop so you can get it done that way. And they'll also test your battery for free in or out of the car. Talk to the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Adam, I think we just found the sequel to Carmageddon. The city of Franklin, Tennessee is deploying self-driving mowers to mow all the parks. So computer-controlled lawn mowing for each of the parks. How long till someone hacks that satellite and sends a rogue going around running over dogs and people's feet? This idea has legs, man.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Mike Rowe in studio, Something to Stand For. It's a very, very interesting and entertaining film, out nationwide, June 27th. So we're talking about life, and we'll continue a little bit longer talking about life. I think there's an inherent problem in how you're judged in the future because people are narcissists and it's running wild in the streets now. And so when we get to a point 156 years from now when everyone is eating synthetic meat and we found out that cows have feelings, then it's going to be very easy for all the virtue signalers to go, oh my God, I would have never eaten meat. Like all the people who have inserted themselves into the, they look back and they go, I would have been marching arm in arm with Reverend King across the bridge and all that. Sure. No, you wouldn't have. You would have been at home or you would have been throwing a rock at them. No. But everyone does the, I would have, whatever. And this is a sort of retrograde sort of version. Well, not retrograde, but it's a way to collect some glory by saying, I wouldn't have eaten the meat and I would have been the one who walked arm in arm with Dr. King across the bridge. There's a lot of that.
It's cheap.
It's cheap. It's totally convenient. It's completely easy. It's also like there was a time when people didn't say African American. They said Negro, and that's what they said. The sports announcer said it. People who wrote newspapers said it. Mm-hmm. That was what they said when they were referring to what we now call African American. And you would have said it too, but now you want to judge Grandpa for saying
That's right. Yeah, because you're backward and you're slow to the party. You're late. What took you so long? And so forth. So, yeah, man. I mean, and by the way, what is the current state of play with African American?
I think you can say black, but if you say the black, then you're back in hot water again.
If you put the in front of anything.
In front of Jew or black.
Or gay. I mean, right. You can't put the.
No. You can't use the.
No.
It's a constant movement. It's a constant correction. It's like pronouns. It's just there to trip you up.
I think so. Yeah. And that's why look, I think it's the fault in our stars. We can't help it. They were probably doing that in 1865. They were probably looking back at 1700 going, oh, Visigoths.
Yeah, well,
barbarians.
when you hear people writing from 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. It's a lot of kids these days. It's sort of,
right.
It's 12:22, and you're like kids these days.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do with these kids?
I look, maybe maybe it's not as bad as we think, simply because everybody's armed, not with a gun, but with a camera and an Instagram page. Maybe we just see more of it. Maybe it's just all, I don't know if the Heisenberg principle, the uncertainty principle, the act of observing a thing changes a thing, all that.
Well, here's the question. And this is another one I always talk to Dr. Drew about when he's working out.
We got to get you guys back together, man.
Is it just us because we're this age, and every heterosexual male throughout history who gets to our age goes, oh, these kids, what's going on? And then so there's a party that goes, maybe I'm just entering this category sort of chronologically, and I'm listening to DJ Khaled going, I don't get it. I don't get it. But maybe your dad was listening to the Beatles and going, I don't get it. And then there's another part that goes, well, wait a minute, the Beatles are good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
DJ Khaled sucks. And so I was like, is this really on me? Which also happens a lot too when I was talking to someone who was 20 years younger than me about, oh God, I'll try to think of the name of the actor, comedian, Will Rogers. I said, Will Rogers.
Never met a man he didn't like.
All right. And I said, Will Rogers, blah, blah. They said, who's Will Rogers? I said, Will Rogers. He was the most famous actor, comedian, voice, of his era. Well, I don't know Will Rogers. I go, all right, well, you should. And they go, oh, well, because you're old. Okay, first off, I didn't know Will Rogers. It's incumbent upon me to know shit about World War II, even though I didn't fight in World War II.
Haven't been to Moscow. Pretty sure it's there.
Pretty sure it's there. Right. And so there's a lot of that going on where, okay, so because I know who Will Rogers is, this is on me now?
Everything is connected. Everything is causal.
Right.
In that way. We talked a lot about risk before, and I think in this case, there's something to be said about certainty. And our absolute, we're just besotted with it. And I think as we get older, we're less impressed by it. We might want to have it in our life because, certainty leads to comfort. But we're very, very long on it now, it seems. And I don't want to smear one demographic in particular. So I'll just smear the media. Everybody seems awfully certain about everything that's reported. You can hear it in their voice. You can hear it in the music that's behind them. You can see it in the earnestness of their gaze.
Certitude. That's the thing I kept saying all through COVID. Where do you get the certitude? Ivermectin isn't effective. You know what hydroxychloroquine is, although you learn how to pronounce it 4 minutes before the camera went hot. Like, where'd all the certitude come from? Why not be a little agnostic? Like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor.
That's not, how about humble?
Or humble.
So I narrate this. I narrate a series called How the Universe Works. I've been doing it for 10 years, which, by the way, we still don't know. Right. And the funny thing is, like, as a narrator, when I'm doing that show, I'm paid to sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
No, I don't. Anybody who thinks about it is no. I just read what's on the page, and I try and do it with a level of verisimilitude that people think's believable. Every session, when we go back in to do a new episode, starts with pickups from a prior episode where information that I shared with the masses in a crisp, well-modulated baritone has been determined to be completely inaccurate.
Right.
Okay? And I don't mean like little mistakes. I mean like I went in to specifically announce the discovery of 2 trillion galaxies. Up until that point, we thought there were maybe 200 million, but new triangulation of various telescopes, Hubble deep fields, all the calculations, no, it's 2 trillion. We made a big deal of it. I announced it. The music was very impactful. The images, the CGI were great. Wow, big show. 2 weeks later, new data comes in. It turns out it's not 2 trillion. Well, how many is it? Well, it looks like it's closer to 100 million.
Right.
I'm off by roughly 2 trillion.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But when I tell you that it's 100 million, I sound exactly the same way as I do when I tell you they're 2 trillion.
Right.
And that's what every newscaster does. That's what every reporter is doing. To find a measure of modesty and a little humility along with a heightened level of skepticism. That's what I'm desperate for. A media that'll hold our elected officials to the fire, no matter their party. A skeptical media who's humble but determined. And not only do I not find those qualities there, everybody has become infected, and we're walking around with these damn things, and we have our opinions.
Phones.
We got our phone. Yeah, I'm looking at my smartphone, and I know that I can find not just a Yahoo, I can find an expert to bolster whatever belief I'm going to try and sell you with all the certainty I can muster. And that's a hell of a thing, because we're all armed with the same tool, and we all have access to millions of experts who don't agree with each other about anything. And we're all cursed with a media that's lost all of its skepticism.
Yeah.
So you can't blame Joe Blow from Idaho for looking at a mandate and going, God, I would like for you to at least pretend to want to persuade me instead of just telling me.
Yeah, I think there's something that's missing too that we left when we left the farm and the job sites, the lumberjack camps and things like that. And we got into the air conditioning and the cubicles, which is a kind of a horse sense, just a kind of a old fashioned sense that and when I say sense, I don't mean to ascribe something sort of mythical to it, but I'm just saying, like, when you build all day or you do things that are very pragmatic, then you tend to get more pragmatic. And then when you hear information that doesn't sound right, you make sense of it in a much faster way, regardless of what the expert is saying. When you hear mask up in between bites, you go, wait a minute.
Quick question over here.
I don't, how's that going to work? You know what I mean? Like you have a kind of a pragmatism, a logic, and a sort of horse sense, all kind of mixed, all sort of commingling in the same brain, where you go, that doesn't sound right.
What do you think we should do? Like today, when we look back at that, and now we've heard from Francis Collins, we've heard from Anthony Fauci. There was zero science in the 6 feet apart. Zero science. Right. Now,
sure.
I can still hear the certainty in their voices.
Oh, yeah.
When they told us, right? And
go
down the
it
list.
had a dusting of judgment, and there was certitude and a certain amount of judgment.
Shame.
And shame, right. So there was sort of here's what works, and then here are the poor, Walmart shoppers who are clinging to their guns and their Bibles, who don't want to do what the voice of authority is telling them to do because I am science. Yes. Yeah. I like the pound of flesh exacted for them the same way I like my Olga, my nanny, smacking my daughter. Like, it prevents it from happening again.
Yeah.
And I've said it many times. Like, I'm not litigious at all, but if the ladies from The View are going to call, Kyle Rittenhouse a racist and a white supremacist, over and over again, then I would like them sued, because at some point another 16-year-old is going to come down the pike who you disagree with politically, and you're going to try to destroy him as well. And I wanted to slow your roll.
Would you have sued CNN had you been in Rogan's place?
I probably wouldn't, just more out of lethargy.
Inertia.
Then, my number one principle is lethargy.
Entropy.
And then principle comes second to that. But he should have, they essentially discredited themselves in that situation, to me. Lost, what they really lost is not a lawsuit. What they lost is, I have
trust.
young people who work in this building, and I've said to a lot of them, would you trust CNN now if they were coming out with something? And they go, no, I wouldn't. And they go, what if I asked you that question 6 years ago? Would you? And they went, oh yeah, for sure. That's a big loss.
Yeah.
You can't cut a check and cover that loss.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Covington thing. I mean, it's a long list. And look, both sides have disgraced themselves, for sure. But, what are the townspeople to do in this situation, right? What are we to do? What are we to make of a couple of networks, both just riven with scandal? They've literally shot themselves in both feet again and again and again and again and again, and still with the certainty
Yes.
and still with the, most trusted. And that like, what are you selling?
Well, when you hear like democracy dies in darkness and stuff like that, it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing at this point. I don't look, I think when we were talking earlier back in the day, you would either drink Bud or you drink Coors. And now there's a million IPAs and everyone's got their own drink. And it's rare to see two guys who even drink the same beer anymore, which is not anything like our childhood, because it was like, by the way, people go on a beer run, you didn't even tell them what kind of beer. They're going to get beer, not your beer.
Dude, that's
just beer.
That's so important. Like, it's small, but if you think about like tile and grout or brick and mortar, right?
Either metaphor will work fine for me. Either way, we're going to need a sponge drum.
So as a builder, well, no. You know the answer to this. But for the average person, they look at a brick wall, they see brick. But the whole thing's held together with mortar.
Right.
There is no brick wall without mortar, period. Right? And so when you look around at a sporting event or a backyard barbecue and you see a couple of dozen dudes standing around and 90% of them are drinking the same beer, that's mortar.
Right.
That's a kind of caulk that makes sense in a social setting. Rockefeller, the richest man in the world, went to church and he sat in this wooden pew next to a pauper, right? And so we had these sort of egalitarian melting places where the country really could melt into some shared thing. Must-see TV, Thursday nights, water cooler moments, shared experiences. It just goes down the list. I sat down to watch something on Netflix 2 nights ago and literally spent an hour looking for something to watch on Netflix. Not because there was nothing to watch, because there was everything.
Right.
And so we're drinking out of a fire hose. We're completely inundated with our own series of endless choices, whether it's a brand of beer or our particular show or our particular podcast. That is going to change for the same reason that life was simpler when you had 3 long-distance carriers, when you had 3 major networks,
Yeah.
It was
everything's
simple.
curated for you now, but
bespoke.
I had this distinct thought earlier today. I was leaving my shop and I thought it was a much simpler life when that was my life, and you just show up and you would just work. And there was no juggling or plate spinning going on. There wasn't 5 projects going on at once. It was just whatever was in front of you. And look, it'd be a pay decrease going back to that world. But as I was backing out of the driveway of my shop, leaving the guys who were working in it behind, I had a very distinct thought that it was probably healthier. It was probably healthier. They say, this study that if you're shopping for television screens or washing machines, the 3 or 4 is good, but when you get past 7 choices, the person gets miserable and they regret their decision, Well, now we can apply that to beer and Netflix and girlfriends on Tinder and everything, right? I mean, it's
every single thing.
And too much choice probably makes the human condition a little worse,
anxious.
And a little anxious. Yeah, you either drank a Bud or a Coors, and you either a Ford or a Chevy guy. I mean, like when I grew up, on the job site, you're the Ford guys or Chevy guys. There was no Toyota.
It's simple.
It was simple.
If you're not enjoying what you're watching because you're tormented by what you're not watching,
yes,
then you've entered into then that's called a sucker's bet. Right?
Yeah,
and
right.
You've been beguiled by choice. And again, in a social world where social media has eclipsed actual media, well, man, we're no longer are the townspeople fundamentally consumers. The townspeople are now broadcasters and producers and influencers, some legitimately, but all of us in our own right have curated our audiences, and we've decided who we wish to follow and who we want to follow us. And so we've got it so granular now that it's very difficult to know what to stand for, to shamelessly bring it back to me for a moment. But that, like, how do you figure out in this bouillabaisse of possibility, like, what actually matters? Should I be on Substack? Should I be reading Schellenberger and Taibbi, or am I better off just seeing what Dan Rather's still up to?
Yeah, I will. As we wrap this up, I will say this: you'll be much better off with a hobby. You find something to put your hands on and put together. I literally. We're now heading toward Laguna Seca and the vintage car race that I do every year. And I woke up excited this morning because I have to figure out what kind of vintage bi-ply tires are going on this old Datsun BRE race car I'm going to race, and started going through the machinations of prepping it and thinking about trailering and where we're going to pit and when the run group was going off and who else. I was reading an email, what other cars are in my run group, and what tires will they let you run, because you can't run modern tires on it, and so on and so forth. And I got excited about the notion of figuring out whether I'm going with the Hoosier Street TD tires or the Goodyear Blue Streak tires. Mm-hmm. And I got excited over going, I know my guy over at Roger Krause Racing Tires, and I'm going to call him, and I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to say to him, I got a 69 Datsun 2000 Roadster, and what do you think's better, the Street TDs or the Blue Streaks, and what sizes do you have them both in, and what do they weigh?
Yeah.
And I want to know what's the tread width and stuff like that.
You want to geek out on it.
I want to geek out on it. And all of a sudden, you're a million miles away from everything that's going on in Hamas and Nancy Pelosi and whatever, Washington. It's just you're on to your own thing. And we're at a point now where you need a hobby like you need a treadmill and you live in an apartment. You know what I mean? That's a health issue now. There's no more walking to the well 6 miles each way to get water. We have to simulate this thing now, and you're going to have to simulate the sort of tactile life that you don't need to engage in. And everyone's going to tell you, what are you wasting your time for? Don't do it. Let someone do it for you. Pay somebody to do it, and you have to ignore all that and do it yourself.
Well, there's that, and then throw in the cloud and throw in AI and throw in your avatar version of yourself having a hobby, right? And then it's just like one level down. I mean, you're basically talking about job satisfaction in a way, I think. Yeah. And I love the word vocation. Mm-hmm. In fact, before it was shop class, remember, it was the vocational arts. Mm-hmm. The arts, right?
Arts, right.
And whenever you take the art away from a thing, then you're just left with the brute realities of the thing. Right. And that's how we got Votech, which led to shop. And then we walked it around the barn and shot it, and now it's gone. But this idea of marrying your vocation with your avocation, man, you want a little poetry to wind this thing down?
Yes.
Robert Frost wrote this. It was called Two Tramps in Mud Time. And it's a great poem. He's in his backyard, and he's splitting wood, which he loves to do. Mm-hmm. And out of the mud, two strangers come, right? And they're these lumberjacks, and they're hungry, and they've been living in the camps. They're lumberjacks, and they're looking at this guy doing something he loves, right? But they need, this is their job. So they ask him, can we cut this for you? Can we do this for you? This is what we do, and we're hungry. And so the poem is really a moral dilemma on what happens when love and need collide from different parties, which I think is happening a lot today. Anyhow, it's a long poem, but the end comes right up to this moment where he's been really propositioned, and he has to figure out what to do. And he says, nothing on either side was said. They knew they had but to stay their stay, and all their logic would fill my head. Because who am I to take another man's work for play? My right might be love, but theirs is need, and where the two exist in twain, theirs was the better right, agreed. But yield who will to their separation. My object in living is to unite my avocation with my vocation, as my two eyes make one in sight. For only when love and need are one, and work is play for mortal stakes, can the deed be truly done for heaven and for future sake. And I'm like, a lot of people know Frost, but nobody ever looks at that poem. And that is what's happening in our country right now. We don't know how to separate work from play. And the dilettantes are leaning too hard into play, and the rapacious capitalists are too hard into work, and everybody's all horribly confused. And in the end, man, sometimes you just have to walk out in your backyard and split some wood. And if you enjoy it, as Henry Ford said, chop your own wood. It'll warm you twice.
God, that guy's good.
He was good. Had a problem with the Jews, but he was,
repented sort of at the end.
Yeah.
And built enough bombers to win World War II. Liberate
that.
a few.
That's good.
A few camps where Jews were. So
You should write a poem about that, man.
Well, I have said many times, where people go, fuck that guy, it's anti-Semitic. I go, okay, so you got a choice between a guy who's anti-Semitic who also built bombers at Willow Run and essentially won World War II and liberated a lot of Jews, or a guy who would be a nice guy, but not anti-Semitic, but not build any bombers.
That's your cognitive dissonance.
Who would
again,
you go
man.
with?
Nuance, baby. That's what we need.
Something to Stand For is the name of the movie. It's excellent. I saw it in its entirely, soup to nuts, and I recommend it highly. June 27th is when it hits the theaters. And it's something I think, and I think I'll speak for Mike when I say it's something this country needs. A happy, pleasant, informative distraction, and a way to kind of, like looking through a yearbook at somebody and looking at his picture and go, yeah, I remember that guy when he was young and strong and virile and kicked my ass on the football field. Man, I miss that version of that
guy. Yeah.
Mike, thank you for coming in. Always a pleasure. And you can go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows, and you can go to MikeRowe.com as well. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Mike Rowe saying mahalo. Thanks for tuning into the Adam Carolla Show. You can watch the full show on YouTube. Just search Adam Carolla Show and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also get the podcast wherever you like to listen. And for extra content, ad-free episodes, and more, you can head over to our Substack and sign up today.
Pluto TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
We're coming at you with everything we got!
This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra.
Free!
This is the mindset.
With movies like Pineapple Express, the entire Star Trek film franchise, and Gladiator, and TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts. Pluto TV is always free. Huzzah! Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on a choice maker on Monday. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. Joey Fatone in the studio. Got a really cool multi-part doc out, and it's well done. So congratulations. It's called Boy Band Confidential. It's available on HBO Max and Investigation Discovery, and it is worth your time. It is. I make docs, so I don't like cheap docs or ones that look cheap. I like ones that I don't know. I'm sorry, they have to look. The information has to be there, but the aesthetic and everything has to be there. The flow. So good on you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we were actually meticulous about it. We didn't want it to be, again, too cheesy. We didn't want it to be too dark. We didn't want it the way the edit was going to be or the recreations and all this other kind of BS. So we, myself and my manager came up with this kind of idea of doing this and wanting to get a group of different people together, and tried to convince a couple of guys because obviously they didn't want to talk about it. But I said, hey, we're not trying to talk about dark things or, kind of just let it happen. Let's tell your story from the beginning, from you when you were born to all the way up until what you've been doing, what's been going on, how you've been, and, what the future holds.
The bands, and there's so many there. I mean, NSYNC, obviously, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, Boys II Men. There's so many there. A couple things that's interesting. First off, it really kind of puts you in a place in the 90s where you're like, oh, yeah. And then also, when you get older, you start hearing about guys 14 years old, 17 years old, 15 years old, and you're like, oh my God, everyone were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, 22-year-old's the oldest person, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's insane, but it's also, then you realize everyone's story is sort of, not like, well, my dad's a lawyer, my mom's a surgeon, and we lived lavishly. Like, everyone's just like 13 and kind of vulnerable and looking for a dream and sign anything that's put in front of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And obviously the people know that. I mean, Lou Pearlman knew it for sure. There was a doc on Lou several years ago, and Lou is, his life's kind of crazy, and it ended up kind of crazy too.
I mean, he was a great businessman for himself, as I like to say, in that sense. So it was one of those things where, later on in life, you start to see what the real intentions were and what happens. First it was, I want you to be a big star and let me show you what you can have.
Yeah.
Drive, around in my Rolls Royce, and he has this thing, And then lo and behold, though, with the doc, it obviously touches with Lou, but it's interesting to see where, a lot of the groups came from Lou, but how we all have these kind of linear, and parallel kind of stories, but how some of them go a little bit differently than what they were doing. But it's amazing. It's fascinating.
He did NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, right?
NSYNC, Backstreet, O-Town, a group called Take Five, a couple other groups that were even in the process making while he was even in jail, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, he was still trying to do groups after that, and there was all these LFOs. Another one, I believe, there's another group called C Note that was out there. So again, all these boy bands that he was trying to do in Orlando as things were going down.
Yeah. He got busted for basically a Ponzi scheme, essentially.
Yes, he was basically telling a lot of people, hey, I got Backstreet Boys, I got NSYNC, I'm investing money, you should invest in me too. So it took a lot of people's, literally all their 401ks or their life retirement funds in from Orlando, from Florida, and literally took all these people's money and just were printing out fake printouts, had a whole bunch of phones that were just operating and just calling and just leaving messages. And he would have fake, stocks and saying, this is going up, you want to stay, you don't want to pull out money yet, just keep it in there.
It's kind of,
crazy. And
maybe it is crazy, but I always thought about this when it came to the Manson family. So Charles Manson is living for free in Southern California in the late 60s on a ranch in Chatsworth. Mm-hmm. He lives there for free, and all he has is tons of runaway young chicks who are angry at their dad. A bevy of a new woman to have sex with every day who's just going to come in here and worship him. But at some point, he says, you know what I think we should do? We should go kill a bunch of people, and then what? And my thing is always like, you had a ranch, you had a bunch of runaways, what? You're going to blowjob every other day.
Why?
Why are you breaking this? You got a pretty good thing going on here, Charlie. So why are we going up and killing the Tates and the LaBiancas? Because then they're going to come looking for us, and we're going to move up the ranch, and next thing you know, you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life. Meanwhile, I'm just sipping on a Budweiser, getting a blowjob on some free ranch lands. What are we doing here? And so Lou Pearlman, he's got a company. He signs bands that are wildly successful. He is basically the sixth member of each group. So he just is like, I'm a bandmate. I get paid. Plus, I'm getting 51% of whatever. Why does he need to start the Ponzi scheme?
I don't know. That's the millions and millions of dollar questions that have gone and don't know where they are. He literally, nobody knows why. And obviously, from the early stages too in the story, that he even before that, how he got his first couple of million or two, he, I guess, bought a blimp, put the Jordache symbol up, and then crashed it on purpose, obviously, to get the insurance money. And that's how he literally left New York and moved to Florida and said, I want to be this big mogul business guy, and sees these kids on a plane, and who are they? New Kids on the Block. And he's like, okay, that's a business end to that. Groups, boy band, and that's how that went down. That's all.
I guess in a weird way, it's kind of like Aaron Hernandez or whatever. You go, why do you have to kill somebody? You just signed a huge contract, and it's like the answer is because that's what I do. Yeah. That's really the answer, right?
It's greed. It's probably something that's in his mind that said, "I'm just going to keep doing this." I don't know. Yeah, it's a crazy a world in the sense of why why not stop? Why keep going? Or why go to the next level of whatever that is?
And so things I learned watching the doc is one is Justin Timberlake's mom came up with NSYNC.
The name.
And it's everyone's first initial.
Yeah, it's everyone's last. It's the last letter of our first name.
Oh, the last letter.
Yeah, of our first name.
Right.
So we had Justin for the N, Chris for the S. What are we at? NSY, Joey for the Y, JC for the C. Lanston, as we like to call him, was his nickname for the other N. But that's when we had Jason in the group, and that's in the doc as well, where I haven't seen a buddy of mine who was actually he was like the fifth Beatle kind of thing as well. He was in NSYNC and then left because he didn't want to be in it anymore. He thought it was a bubblegum boy band BS, but also he did take a look at the contract and when it was too much to even get into, and he didn't want to deal with it.
Well, he brought up a decent point, or was brought up in the doc, which is, so Lou Pearlman, who's Lou Pearlman. But by the way, I had a manager. I was just thinking about this. Me and Jimmy had a manager, and he was Tom Green, Carson Daly. I actually had him first, and then got him in Carson and Jimmy. And anyway, in managers are supposed to look out for your career, right? You know, right?
Supposed
to. It is illegal to have a 10-year contract in California. Okay. You can't go sign this, you're mine for 10 years. The max is 5. So the contract with him that he made was a 5-year contract that automatically renews for another 5 years with no notice.
Gotcha.
And he doesn't notify you. And this is pre-smartphone. So you would literally have to get a calendar from 5 years ahead
and figure out
and like circle. You have to get a Post-it and put on your refrigerator from 5 years from now. So during this date, because you got a 2-week window, and if you don't, and he doesn't say anything, and it renews. So this kind of weird, sneaky shit goes on all day, every day. And he wasn't Lou Pearlman. He was just doing what he was doing. So he offers up a shit contract. You got a bunch of 15-year-old guys who are literally just hungry to be anywhere. Sign it. One guy goes and gets a lawyer to look at it and goes, "Are you kidding me? This is insane." But then the question remains, if you won't sign it, you're 15. How much juice do you have? He can just go get the next 15-year-old who wants to sign it. So it's not like saying if you'd only got representation. If you'd gotten representation, you might not be there.
Well, again, and back then there was no social media or anything like that, so you couldn't get anything out there to a broad audience if you wanted to.
Right.
So it was very difficult to do that. So this was the opportunity. So it's like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. Am I missing the opportunity? Because he, like you said, he's going to find somebody else, and you go, damn, I need to do this maybe.
So how and your friend who came on camera, which is nice because sometimes people have hard feelings. He was kind of philosophical about it. He seemed like he wishes he was in the band, I would say. I don't know who wouldn't.
Right. No, he said it pretty simple in the sense of, back then thinking he was glad he made the right decision. Of course, not knowing how, to the peak and the craziness that we were going to go through the journey as far as NSYNC. Yeah. But yeah, it would have been nice to have the money. He said 100%. That would have been nice. But again, the nice thing is he's come to those terms where it's like, you know what, I'm cool, I'm okay. But damn, it sucked that I didn't. Right. But I'm okay with it. I'm not like dwelling on it or trying to be like, well, I should have been the fifth NSYNC member and I'm going to cash in on it. So, what I'm saying? He's just doing his thing, which is great.
Is that where Justin Timberlake came in?
No, Lance came in.
Oh, Lance, that's right. Lance and
Lance was the one
Arkansas somewhere.
Mississippi.
Worst states to be gay in. It's Arkansas or Mississippi.
Bible Belt right there, baby.
That had to be a struggle.
It was tough for him, and as he says, actually, it was.
And it's interesting. He said his family went to church 3 days a week, which is incredible. And back then, and being gay. It's incredible.
It was tough, yeah. His mom was always like, did I do something wrong in her mind? Yeah. And he said his grandparents actually took it a lot easier, which, you'd think even older, they probably even had a hard time, but they were pretty much okay with it. It's like, being all right.
You found out pretty early on, I guess, at least chronicled in the doc, you were staying with him. So it
was out hanging out, walk up, freaking, what was I doing? We were actually at a party, and we went to his house, a whole bunch of people. I passed out in one of his guest rooms, got up to leave to go to my house, knocked on his door to say goodnight, see you later, wasn't in his room. Went somewhere else, wasn't in the room. Went outside, wasn't in the room. Went in his office. He was sitting there with a buddy of his, sitting on, not naked, thank goodness, but sitting on top of him. And I was like, hey. And I went up to the door. I started creeping the door closed. I go, I'll see you later, man. Have a good night. He's like, no, we're not doing anything. It's like, surprise. He's like, hey, man. He goes,
this is how long into being in it?
This is in the height of the career, basically. This is when we're starting to do a lot more stadiums and stuff like that. I want to say probably in was it 99, 2000? Something like that.
So he's not out to anybody.
Wasn't out, before that, yeah. He wasn't out to anyone.
Then no one in the band knows.
No, nobody knew in that sense. And he's like, hey, man, don't tell anybody else. I said, listen, I'm not saying nothing. I said, your mother's going to kill you, but whatever happens. I love you, brother. I don't love you, but I love you. And whatever you do behind closed doors is none of my damn business. So you do you, bro. But I'm not saying that. And another funny thing is that one of my best friends I've known since kindergarten, same thing, came out to me and told me. It's like, and it took him years to tell me because he was afraid, like I was going to be mad or do something. I'm like, dude, I don't care. It's like,
right.
And then I looked at him like, dude, was I ever attractive? You didn't freaking hit on me. I was like, shit, what the hell was that? What was that?
I know.
That was not your type. What the fuck? So kind of funny. But yeah, I was always like, dude, you do you, man. It has nothing to do with me. And that's kind of how we went through it. And he never said anything to the guys until later on. He wanted to talk to them about it.
Would you notice, though, with kind of girls and groupies and that kind of stuff?
He would hang out with girls, and he even had a girlfriend. He had Daniel Fishel from Boy Meets World.
Oh,
they were dating. She was head over heels for him.
Wow.
She wanted him to be the first. She says it in a bunch of interviews, and he was like, I want to save myself for marriage. Lo and behold, he finally later on, as obviously he couldn't wait no more because she wanted to freaking basically rape him, I guess, basically in a sense, because she wanted to have sex, and he was like, I don't have any interest. And that's kind of how it was like found from her, I think, from her standpoint. And then, it was interesting because he kept it pretty good because there were girls that were hanging out with him. And he even had friends from Mississippi that would hang out or be on the road sometimes that were girls. And they didn't say anything or anything like that. They just hung out. I'm like, oh, maybe that's one of the girls he's hooking up with.
Right.
All right, cool. Never thought anything of it. Yeah.
So what was the give us a height of the heights in sync story. Like, what was the biggest, I don't know, let's say, yeah.
In what direction are we talking?
No, I guess what I'm saying is like, you run into David Bowie and he gives you a thumbs up or some, they're weird stories like that.
Oh yeah, there's tons of those. I mean, like one time
then they're selling out X amount, Wembley Stadium 3 nights or whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, one comes to mind. There's a few actually come to mind. One's I thought was really cool. We're practicing for the Grammys, and it's this whole a cappella breakdown. We're literally in our bathroom, in the dressing rooms, in the arena, and we're practicing. And all of a sudden the door opens up, and we turn around, and it's Paul Simon. Mm-hmm. And he just stands there. We just stop singing. He's like, no, keep going. That's why I came in here. Listen. That was just the coolest thing. Paul Simon walks in listening to you. Stuff like that. I mean, gosh, Super Bowl's another one. One of the biggest things. It was with Aerosmith and Britney and Nelly and Mary J. Blige, which was another, just, one of those pinnacle kind of a cool things. One funny one, me and my manager, Joe, who we'll talk to later on, we went to go see Aerosmith. And this was actually after we did Super Bowl, and Steven Tyler's out there. And I said, hey, man, you mind if I come see the show? I said, yeah, get your tickets. And Joe's like, hey, man, you met Steven before? I go, yeah, we've done these things, blah, blah, blah. He says, come backstage. He's like, all right. Steven comes in. Nicest guy. He's like, yo, you got to take a shit. You got to do anything. Here's my dressing room. You have a sticker. You come back here. If you need to do anything, great. I'll see you later, blah, blah, blah. And goes on stage. But it was just cool that they're, when you're on the same level or a peer like that, it's the weirdest thing to do that because years ago, I watched their videos back in the day. I always dreamt to be on that side.
The real impact is when you were watching them. Yeah, I remember once being backstage at a K-Rock event, and I was just doing a character on the morning show out here. But at some point, Duff or Slash or like one of the Guns N' Roses guys, he came up to me and he goes, "Are you Mr. Bertram from the radio?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh man, Axl is going to blow his mind. He thought you were like 50 years." And I'm like, Axl Rose, he's got questions about me. I'm going to blow his mind?
Right.
Are you nuts? Because I was, living in my crappy apartment with my roommates, and Appetite for Destruction was triple platinum. And so those are the ones that really get you.
Yeah.
Is the
all
ones
those
you
interactions.
watch.
Yeah, even same thing with Kiss with Gene Simmons. I've run into him many times and hung out with him a few times. It's so funny. He's a great guy. It's just random. Pick people that you never hang out before, especially when you go to Adam Sandler's Christmas parties. He has those holiday parties where there's just random people. There's a picture I have with me, Marilyn Manson, and Vanilla Ice. Why the hell would the three of us be in a picture like this? I don't know, but it's hysterical.
But it's the pageantry of life. Like, it's the crazy part. It's the fun part.
It's the fun part. I mean, and that's, again, with those dark sides come those fun sides and come those upsides, those access things that, people don't get access to. And I love bringing friends of mine like that, to bring them to things like a Kentucky Derby or things like that, where they would never get access to what we do, or never get access to be on the Millionaire Row watching the horses right there, right there for the finish line, and be standing next to, Travis Kelce and all those other people. They're like, this is like surreal. And it's like, no, this is just, we're all having a good time. We're all here.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So Lou Pearlman, always accused of basically being a pedophile or molester or whatever, but he ends up going to jail for financial things, and they're never able to really get that to stick on him.
Yeah, no one ever really knew, and I think that's something that even for me, maybe, and I obviously joke, but it's probably true. Maybe I was too old for him to hit on me, in a sense. You know what I mean? Because I never saw a lot of things that other people saw, especially in the interview and the things that like Ashley Parker talks about from O-Town. So there's a couple things where you're kind of like, oh shit, I didn't know that. And you're like, wow, okay, well, what? Okay, I never saw that. And he was always that guy. I don't know. He never was. I never got that sense of him wanting to be like the pervy kind of guy, but maybe behind a closed door. But I've never seen him behind a closed door with somebody else before. You know what I'm saying? For me, I always had somebody there. I mean, I guess maybe I was raised a little bit better. You're not hanging out with some old dude by yourself in a room anyway. Let's be smart about it. But it was just the accusations of it and stuff. Again, for me, I can speak about. I've never really seen much about that. Where it was, but yeah, he was off to me in a sense. He was just that, it felt like he was that lonely guy, or was that lonely kid that never got a chance to be a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then have friends. And now that he has money, hey, I can be your friend now. Let's hang out. It's like that mentality. And I think of it like same with Michael Jackson. He has that mentality of a child. It's I don't know. It's bizarre to me, but maybe some people didn't have those childhoods and stuff like that to want that, I guess.
And I'm not sure what the schedule is for NSYNC and Timberlake and all that kind of stuff, but you see, is it Backstreet Boys at the Sphere?
Yep.
And and I went, and it was a great show.
Oh my God,
it's great. And you go, oh, well, NSYNC could definitely do that, and there's lots of money, and I assume you would want to do that, and it's always about sort of getting everyone on the same page.
Yep.
And then I guess there's a couple sides. First off, it's the money that has been left on the table by bands that didn't get along or wouldn't get. I mean, you could fill the Suez Canal with that much money. It is absolutely insane how much money bands will leave on the table because the one guy doesn't like the other guy or whatever it is. And history is littered with those stories. Now, I don't. And there's real serious situations like the two brothers, the Gallagher brothers or the Black Crow guys. They hate each other, and it's always a rivalry or whatever. I've never really heard anything about NSYNC. Everyone seems to be pretty copacetic. And then it'll be a situation like one guy goes off and gets real busy. Like, I'm not going to get Jimmy to do the stage show or the man show anytime soon. But he's got enough money.
You get it.
I could get Doug Stanhope maybe and just advertise it as original cast or something. But guys get busy. Guys make a lot of money, and they do other things. Understood. But this seems like a good time to get Timberlake back and to take over the Sphere.
I mean, I think it's just a good time to do anything with the group in general, whether it be the Sphere, whether it be a residency somewhere else, whether it be just a one-off or something. I think for me, I think I'm in a place in my life, and I can only speak for myself, as far as doing stuff, definitely I would love to do it. I mean, my kids, I got a 25-year-old daughter, the other one's 16, so I got one halfway. One's already out the door, the other one's halfway out the door. So I'm not thinking about family in the sense of I need to support somebody or any of that kind of things. Now I'm having fun. Now I'm able to do things where the other guys all have kids. And they're young. They're 1, 2, 3, I think 6 or 7. I think JC's the only one that doesn't. He's the smartest one, I think. The only one that doesn't have kids. But I think that's what really people have never took that into consideration, I don't think. And I think when I did it back in the day, and it was a struggle for me a little bit because I didn't get a chance to really spend time all the time with my kid when I was on the road. And I think they want to.
Well, a tour is grueling.
100%.
You know that. Everyone knows that. But a residency is not quite
true
as grueling,
true,
schedule-wise.
And then you want to ask other people, though, do they want to do a show or not? That's the other thing. Meaning, like, are they on the fence about it, or is there other reasons? And that's the hard part about knowing specifically.
I think that, we have a society that sort of moves in cycles. We go, we love these guys. It's the biggest thing in the world. Then it's fuck those guys. Those guys are lame.
Right.
We want to hear what Nirvana's doing.
Right.
And then at some point they go, oh, we love those guys. We just do this thing. So we're in the we love those guys again phase of your career. And so love.
And that's why you see my ass running around doing NSYNC songs, singing. If the guys don't want to do it, again, I love performing, so I would love to do that. But again, it does make sense to try to do something.
And there's a part where people think in a way like, well, I don't know if we could do what we did do, but this is not playing in the NFL 5 years after you expire.
No,
you guys can pull this off.
Right.
This is pretty doable.
Correct. No,
for
it's definitely
middle-aged
doable.
dudes.
100%. We've seen it.
And then so the question is you got 5 guys, who's in, who's out,
right.
and is it a Timberlake thing, or is there more than
it's
him?
honestly mixed emotions, I think, from everybody, because it's the uncertainty of if it's going to work. Now, we all know it's going to work. I think so, but people still think that in the group. Also from either working too hard, the same thing I think Justin too is in the sense of him touring, and that's why I take the sense of kids in that sense. I think he's probably burnt out and just wants to chill and not even want to tour. Now, if he tours, does another album next month or does a tour, maybe I might be a little bit bitter about it. But I think what he's been doing is just kind of want to lay low now and just spend time with his family. And I'm like, you know what, you got to respect that. However, you do say about the residency, understood that we could probably do something. But again, that still takes time away from your kid, regardless if you're home or not, because you have the rehearsals and everything else. Would it make it easier? I would say so. But again, it takes 5 people to kick him in the right direction. I think it's interesting that the timing, like some of the guys, would be like, okay, yes, let's do it. And some will say no. And then, a year later, it'll flip flop. 3 of the guys are like, yeah, let's do it now. I didn't want to do it before, but now I'm all for it. And the other guys are like, well, no. And that's the push and pull. And I think that's obviously the problem that we're having. I don't think we're all on the same page yet.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make hay while the sun shines. And I do this with comedians. So they go, no, I'm going to take the summer off.
No,
I go, what the fuck?
I've learned
you stand
now.
around.
Yeah.
You do nothing. You do nothing. You're not a roofer. Roofers don't take the summer off.
And the job's not just going to come. It's not going to come on your door later on. You know what I mean? No one's just going to call you up in about 2 or 3 months or a year from now if you're not doing anything. They go, oh, by the way, I like what you did then. Maybe you can do this. Maybe. But it's like, strike while the iron's hot is what I obviously like to say in a sense, and we're not getting any damn younger. So,
yeah, and that's also irons rarely reheat 25 years later, but this iron has reheated and is hot now. And like I said, I don't know, just because I'm not astute enough in the boy band world to know, but I saw Backstreet Boys at the Sphere, and it was packed, and everyone had a good time. And I'm going to go apples to apples here. I'm not going to say, well, yeah, but this little indie band or something. I will say those are 2 bands, pretty apples to apples. And if one can do it, the other can do it. And by the way, if there's appetite for one, there's appetite for the other.
100%.
I think
there's always room.
I think it's going to be the same people are going to come 100%. Out to both shows.
Well, that's the greatest thing, and good for them. Same thing. I'm listening and knowing that a lot of NSYNC fans are going now to the Backstreet Boy fans because NSYNC is not doing anything. And they're like, hey, you know what? Let's go see Backstreet. And they're enjoying themselves and reliving their childhood again. And I think that's what it's all about for me, for that instance of reliving that. And also those moms and older dads are now bringing their kids.
Right.
So now this is a whole new thing. People sometimes don't even know that I even was in a group called NSYNC. They thought I was just in a movie and I did stuff for Impractical Jokers, and that's it.
Right.
So it's interesting to know that some people don't even know that I wasn't even in a group. They're like, one time somebody asked me one time, they looked and said, "Hey, so what was it like working for Justin Timberlake?"
Oh, right. I know.
It was great. I worked with Justin. Again, they don't know, and it's okay. It's not a big deal. And I just thought I actually thought it was pretty freaking funny. I was like, yes, I worked for him. It was tough though. He was a good guy, but he paid me well.
Listen, people. Norm Macdonald's been dead for 3 years. People still think I'm Norm Macdonald. Did everyone, like, Lou ripped everyone off, but there was so much money that you could kind of afford a horrible split, right?
Yes, it was a horrible split. But, again, thank goodness we got wiser, like I said, and got out of that. So we settled out of court, and he only got like a very small percentage from then on. And thank goodness, and everything else with that. After the whole thing of the settling out of court, people had more eyes on that than ever. Then when we came out our album with No Strings Attached, it went, number one.
Oh, that was post Lou.
Yeah. That was right.
So that's a good thing.
It was a very good thing. We broke the record for most album sales. It was 1.2 in the first day, 2.4 million in the first week.
Wow.
Which was crazy. Again, I think that was probably one of the last times that people ever went out online or went to like the Virgin Megastore and stood online to buy a tangible CD.
Yes.
They don't do it anymore.
So Lou did not get you for an extended period of time.
No, he got a good chunk in the beginning, though. We'll definitely say that. But towards the end, thank goodness, we went past that.
Was there ever any relationship once the lawsuit was done? I mean, did anyone go, "Hey, we should go visit that guy in jail" or anything?
No, before he went to jail, oddly enough, me and my manager Joe were on a plane, and Lou was on the same plane. He was a couple of rows behind me.
Oh,
Joe
wow.
even said, "Hey, man, Lou's over there." And I said, "Oh, cool." I got up, said, "Hey, Lou, how's it going, man?" Shook his hand. "You doing all right? Cool, good to see you, bro." I went, sat right back down.
That was
Joe
it,
was
huh?
like, "Wow, how was that?" I was like, "What?" I said, "If it wasn't for him, I would have never had a career. So I'm not going to be a complete jerk to him. Yeah, he's an ass, and I'm not going to really do business or really. I'm going to be cordial. How you doing? You all right? Everything good? Take care of yourself. That's about it, and we move on."
I'm trying to think. It was just a funny story because they just had this whole TMZ story about Jessica Simpson with her ex who was in the doc.
Nick Lachey?
Nick Lachey. Nick Lachey was all over the doc. And there was just a crazy story about Jessica Simpson, Nick Lachey sitting in first class together and how uncomfortable it was.
Got to be interesting.
It's funny. It's bound to happen because you're flying first class. It's also bound to happen because you're not going to Muncie, Indiana.
Right.
You're going to Maui.
Right,
so
right.
that there's going to be some crossover
something
there. It's bound to happen,
Right.
but it is
those,
tough. But you went up and listen. I like you being philosophical about it because people don't do enough. They have their beef and they have their issues, and then people earn that beef and that issue. But there is a bottom line, which is you sold millions of records and wowed millions of fans and made millions of dollars. And that guy who's a horrible guy over there had something to do with that in a pretty big way. And you should not be totally dismissive.
No, not at all. I mean, again, I hopefully I would have gotten there, but I think with the help of NSYNC, of course, and doing the things because I love performing and entertaining and stuff, lead me to where I am today. So, I mean, you can't be mad at that. But of course, on the other side of it, I am, upset, and he got what he deserved in a sense in the end, and went to jail and everything else.
And he died in prison in 2016.
Something like that,
I think it was. I looked it up. I think he spent about 7-8 years. Well, Lou's probably the kind of guy, if you just looked at him, not going to see his 80th birthday. But
he wasn't on Health Magazine anytime soon. No.
But it is also weird too. Like, they're guys that are sort of homeless junkie guys. If that guy goes to prison, it's sort of a lateral move for him. The guys who travel in the limousines and eat at the fancy steakhouses every night. Those are the guys where you kind of go, that's a big jump to prison. That is a big lifestyle change.
It's a good eye opener
for you. Yeah. So, NSYNC, did they ever officially break up?
I mean, I don't know if we ever really officially. I mean, again, how can we officially break up when we just did a song not too long ago on the Trolls album?
Right.
We did a song on Justin's album, Paradise. I mean, it's one of those things where we did one-offs, and people were like, "Oh, you guys getting back together?" It's like, no, it was a perfect timing for it. The music was right for it. It was just it just happened to be right for that. Now, does it feel like it was teasing people? I'm sure it did, but again, it's one of those things where we got to really figure out and buckle down what the hell we want to do if we're ever going to do something. I mean, it's one of that $1 million question of, are we going to do something? It's crazy.
Well,
and we're still talking about it after 20 years. I mean, we've been 2001, I think was the last.
I think I can probably put you in the camp of reasonable guy who wants to go out and get some work and make some money and enjoy.
I love it.
Enjoy it. And I'm with you. And I'm always, I always think about Jay Leno. Because one time I was talking to Jay Leno and I said, "Oh, could I shoot this thing with you or do a thing with that or whatever?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Thanks so much. I really appreciate it." And he goes, "It doesn't need to be that complicated." And I said, "You're right. It doesn't. I don't know why." And maybe it's publicists, and maybe it's agents, and maybe it's wives.
It's a lot.
Maybe it's
a lot of
other people, but it really doesn't have to be that complicated.
No, it's true.
Pretty easy at the end of the day.
And I think that's what it all counts now. It's more simplistic things now, I think, nowadays, too. Like you said, it's just being more simplistic that makes things make sense. And it's just like, why complicate things? It's always funny when you see like a lot of these big, massive productions of something, and there's always like 80 million things, blah, 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 and then you do this small little indie thing, and everything's fine. They like, I got it, boom, boom, ding, and they're done. It's like, what the heck?
It's weirdly like late night and the productions that used to go in and still do go into late night, and you go over to Kimmel's, and he's taken over 2 buildings, and you've been there, and in on Hollywood on the Walk of Fame. And they're all floors are filled with writers and PAs and food and everything. And then you go do Gutfeld, and Gutfeld is not even in his own studio.
Right.
It's a studio that they use as another show during the day and then convert. It's not even a dedicated studio.
Really?
And they like roll his desk in, and the seating are bleachers they pull out like a high school auditorium, right? And it's like there's nothing to it. There's nothing there at all. And I'm sitting around at 2:20, 2:15 going, aren't we going at 2:30? Where is there? They're not here yet. Where are they? And then Tyrus comes walking in, and then Gutfeld will come, hey, how you doing? And it would be like, we're going today, though, right?
We're doing this, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to start right now. It's like everywhere else is all the pre-production and all the pre-interviews and all the here's your manager and everything.
Much.
Right. And here's your production guy, and he talked to him. He's going to produce your segment. And at the end, Gutfeld does a show that gets more eyeballs.
Yeah.
So it can be Nirvana unplugged.
Right.
It doesn't need to be the pyrotechnics
true.
part, too. But
just need all 5 guys, though.
you do, but it's also, I don't know. I feel like Timberlake is I get it. If you're a real talented guy and you're going out and taking the world by storm, then that's going to happen, and it has to happen. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, if a guy emerges as a superstar quarterback and then his contract comes up, like, hey, I love the Browns, but I got a lot of teams calling, man, and I got to get paid, like I understand that, but I think Timberlake's at the point now where it seems like this is a better time for that. Things have cooled down for him a little bit, and this seems like also seems like good PR for him. It feels good. Feels like it was a way to be embraced by society.
Definitely don't disagree with you there. I mean, I definitely do agree with that in that sense. It's one of those things where, where is his head out? Does he really want to go out there and do this again right now at the moment? Or does he, and again, is it a money grab? Is it more of a fame thing? Is it more of a good look thing, or just the hell to do it? I mean, again, it's so many things and when I say all that, why make it that difficult?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're saying.
Well,
it goes back to that, though. It's not rocket science.
I would kind of say it's because it's what you do. And any comedian, you can find some of the most famous guys just on a Wednesday night with 18 people in the room at the Cellar just working out. You know what I mean? Because and you go, what do you need all that shit for? You could fill Madison Square Garden. I do it, but that's what I do, though. And the people... And I don't trust a comedian who won't do it unless the place is a stadium. You know what I mean? Like, I want that person working out.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
That's a love of the game kind of thing.
Nope, true.
And, you know, so ultimately, money's great and the experience is great. And the adulation is great and everything. But ultimately, the answer is pretty simple. It's what you do. And the good news is it's not roofing. It's not masonry.
Right.
It's not, I don't know what your dad did, but
Telephone company. He was a cable splicer in the manholes.
You're not climbing down a manhole in LA interrupting dinner for a family of 7.
Right.
You're on stage, there's air conditioning, and you could even get a free Miller Lite.
100%.
Put it on the rider. Free Miller Lite. And you could do a lot worse than that.
100%. I always say I can be back doing You Want Fries with that or something like that. Like just really going back into that. And I'm like, I made a name for myself to do things, to do what I love, and I'm going to keep doing it. I mean, why not? It's a blessing, and it's also that curse to keep going. You know what I mean? And for certain people, when they get that height, they get that adrenaline rush. It's almost like an addiction. And when they come down, how do they come down off of it? And I think that's where some people lose their sense. And that's why I think for me, my optimistic is, like I said, I love performing, love doing things. So it's like for me, I've never had that dip. People have asked me sometimes, you dealt with depression or something like that? I said, yeah, I've been sad, of course. I've all been sad, but I've never had that dark hole because I know that there's always something else that I can do. I've never felt that way in that sense. So it's like always, again, for everybody, the 5, getting together, it's like we can do that, and I'd love to do that, but I'm always going to try to do something else as well because I just love performing.
And it's always been that way with you, which seems unlikely from where you come from, but I think it's just kind of in you. Yeah. I always believe. I mean, it's singing, comedy, dance, or working with kids. It's just kind of there, or it's not there.
Yeah, true.
But with singing, you have to have a voice, and that's the tough part.
Yeah, you can't suck. That's the truth.
I would say a voice. Is like foot speed in that you can work on it a little bit. Like if you got a high school cornerback or something, you kind of work on it, but you can't really just pull it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And if you ain't fast, you ain't fast, and that's the end of that.
True.
And if you can't sing, you can't sing. But if you can sing, you can always sing a little better, and you can maintain it.
Always improve your craft.
Well. Yeah. And do you feel that way as a singer?
Yeah. No, I feel that way all the way around. Every time I'm learning different things, even from when, doing things like I was hosting a live version of Price is Right at the Bally's in Las Vegas during the day from 2 to 4. Talk about interesting work. But that helped me with hosting gigs and dealing with people every day, whether they were sober, drunk, annoying, sweet, happy. How to find that fine line of going, I can cross that line just enough to make it funny, but not make it insulting. And that was a fun thing to do, though, believe it or not. That was such a great learning tool for me. It was just a repetition of just dealing with just different people every day and trying to figure out how to have that conversation and make you feel comfortable, God forbid, if you're too stiff or whatever the case may be. And again, you've done that many years with other people and guests that come in. You see if they're too tight or too tense or they had a bad day. You can tell they may even want to be annoyed or whatever the hell. And how do you cope with that? There's so many ways you can deal with it to either make them open up or just shut down real quick.
I don't think enough people embrace that part of life where, like, I taught comedy traffic school for a while, and that was 8 hours on your feet in a hostile crowd because they didn't want to be there.
Right.
And they were sort of angry at you, which is, it's not my fault, but it's still Saturday and we're still at the YMCA in Conejo and you are here all day.
Right.
The sun's shining and you're kind of looking at me. But I got a lot out of just standing there for 8. I mean, I did this before I had a career, but I knew it would help. Like I got that if you can do this, it'll be a good block building block for what you might end up doing, talking on the radio for 2 hours or whatever it is. If you can stand there for 8 hours in that hostile crowd and win them over, then you could do a 2-hour radio shift, And I think people need to do a little more of that.
And yeah, even right now, I just went back to doing Broadway for a little while, and I'm probably going to do some more again. But I did a show called Anne Juliet, and it's 8 shows a week, and I don't have a very big part at all. But the interesting thing to see is where you have certain people, where there are artists and stuff like that, try to do those 8 shows a week. And again, learning that kind of stuff. When I did Universal Studios, we were doing 5 shows a day. There were 20-minute shows, 20-minute set shows, but I was in fur and I was in like 100-degree weather.
Right.
So to do that literally prepared me to do literally outdoor venues within sync. It sounds crazy, but dancing for 2.5 hours, sweating, and doing the same show over and over again. Same thing with the Broadway, where you're doing 8 shows a week. Some people can't even, they don't even know the work that it really goes into to doing that show 8 shows a week every day. You only have 1 day off, and you're doing that for 6, 7, 8 months in a row. It's a grind, but it's a love. Like you said, it's one of those things where if you love what you do too as well, it doesn't seem like work anymore.
Yeah. And also, I think the variety part, it helps every part. You want to be
100%.
kind of a Swiss Army knife, and you might think, well, what does that have to do with this? And what's this have to do with that? And I think it all helps, and it ends up in
100%.
the same place. So people say no a little too quick, or they go, I'm not going to do that, or they do, I don't need to do that. Like I go, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to get out of bed in the morning, but you should.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel that way about washing my own car. It's like, people are like, you don't need to do that. I go, I know, but I want to.
Right.
Because I think it helps for some reason. And there's a kind of problem solving, and there's an adaptation part. There's like, you got to learn.
True.
There's like a part 2 where you're the new kid on the block, pardon the pun, but you show up and the production's already been going, and people are like, who's this guy? And you have to kind of ingratiate and figure out. You have to navigate, like going to a new high school or something.
It's the same. It's always repeating itself like that. Always. Yeah. True.
So how do you get, you start off in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, New York, and then moved with my family. We always visited Disney World in Florida, so we went there in 1990, and then lived there for pretty much most of my life. I lived here in California for about 3 years at one point, and then moved back to Florida because my parents are still there, my kid's still there, so it's been good.
And what age are you when NSYNC really hits the zenith?
I was 22, 23, right around that time, because that's when I had my first child when I was 23, in the height of our career. Doing stadiums. Yeah.
Now, did you appreciate it? And I don't mean the alternative isn't being dismissive, but it's kind of easy just to go, okay, let's do the show. Let's get out of here, kind of thing. Like there's a way you can not appreciate it.
Many times, I'm sure. Mentally, when you're doing the same show over and over again, yes. But I do, and I have, and I always do, believe it or not, crazy as it does sound, I'm always appreciative every time. Every time I get out on that stage, every time, it's not like, well, I sit there and I go, oh, I'm so happy. No, but it's like, you know what? It's like, shit, I made it. Every time I'm able to do what I love to do, which doesn't happen to most people nowadays. They always has these aspirations and dreams. And to be able to do it every time, I'm looking out there going, okay, you know what? Even though I may not want to do this show right this second, right this day, but you know what? These people have paid money. They came out to see a good show. They're here to be entertained. They want to forget about their troubles.
Yeah.
So now this is my time too, as well, to forget about my troubles. Screw all that shit that I'm listening to. Forget all that noise. It's just the audience and us. Let's have some fun. That's it.
It's funny. I'm laughing because there are some comedians or some performers, I'm guessing, when they have a show, and let's say the show isn't very well attended, and so it's kind of a light audience, and then the comedian comes out and starts yelling at the people for not showing up, except for he's yelling at the people who showed up.
Right.
The people he's got to beef with is the people that are home.
Right.
He should go to their house and yell at them, not these people.
Right, they came.
They showed up. It's such a weird mentality. Like, you always have to appreciate
those like, how was the
people.
show? Well, it wasn't that crowded. Well, were there people there? Yeah, well, be glad they came.
Yeah. And also, the worst thing I think you could probably read is like, oh, I saw Joey perform. Like, how was it? He seemed bored. or he was a little tired. I think he was tired,
exhausted,
or something like that. Like you want to
Knock on
pedal
wood.
that.
Thank God
bike.
that hasn't happened yet. Not yet.
Well, I think we're going to bring in the guy directed.
Yeah, he's one of.
Yes.
Well, we both co-directed.
both co-directed.
We both came up with this idea. A lot of times, that me and my manager Joe, he's the side brain of reality. I would say, and more of a numbers guy, if you will. So that's why I think we work very, very well together. I come up with the imaginary stuff, and then he kind of brings me down a little bit to go, okay, here's this, here's that. Don't do this. Maybe this is a good idea, and really kind of hones it in. And that's what we did. I've opened up a hot dog place with him, doing that, called Fat Ones.
What is by the way, perfect. Yeah, he was on camera a lot. Joe was in the doc.
Yeah.
Wait, give me your best hot dog. I just went through this with somebody.
The best hot dog?
Yeah.
Well, it's mine. It's 100% Angus beef. We do it, and I do different ways, though. Like, what do you want? I'm simple, though. I'm a ketchup guy, but I've done it where I've done a Reuben. I make a Reuben.
I like a Chicagoan style.
You like Chicago?
Yeah, I always liked that one.
With the green, with the bright green. Yeah. And
I had one for the first time a million years. Now, how do you cook your dogs?
On the grill. I gotta have the snap.
The guy with the snap.
I usually have the snap, or I'll butterfly them depending on what you have ingredients wise. So yeah, sometimes we'll do it. We'll butterfly them so the ingredients stay on. Usually when you bite it, falls every other place.
So a guy who likes ketchup on his hot dog opened a hot dog stand.
I know,
That's
that
like
crazy?
when I wrote a book.
Isn't that crazy?
People are like, a guy doesn't know how to read wrote a book? What the fuck?
Well, I love hot dogs, and I tried all these other ones. So that's literally what happened. We would literally come up with these concoctions and go, okay, that tastes good. Okay, that tastes good. But I like it simple. But, again, the chili dog is another good one.
Where is the hot dog stand, by the way?
Well, we used to have one in Orlando. We had a food truck, but I can't say exactly when it's opening up yet where, but you will know, and you'll know exactly where it is when I finally tell people. But it's in a good area, which I've been trying to get finally. The contract is being signed as we speak. No BS. So that's why I can't say
I have a restaurant
about it. But we got a place that's going to be opening up very soon, hopefully within the next 6 to 9 months.
Place.
Yep, Fat Ones.
Love it. All right. We'll bring Joe in.
Where's he at?
We'll take a break. We'll bring Joe in and we'll pick this up. Fast Growing Trees. Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery? They have thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers. They have all the plants your yard needs, grown with care and guaranteed to arrive healthy. I've moved around a lot, and I always use Fast Growing Trees. They help me make my yard beautiful. I get my dream yard with these guys. All you have to do is just click, order, and grow. I recently just ordered some more, and my kids love them, and I love them too. And I can't believe how good they look. So it's Fast Growing Trees. These guys are smart. Use them. It's Fast Growing Trees, right, Dawson?
Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code ADAM at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com. And using the code ADAM at checkout, fastgrowingtrees.com, code ADAM. Now is the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use code ADAM to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
Huel, heading into springtime. You want to eat right, but it's hard when I'm busy, and that's why I love Huel's. Ready to drink, full meals. My favorite is the vanilla flavor. I know, sounds a little vanilla, but I'm a vanilla guy. They have 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins, and minerals as well. So it's all there. No artificial sweeteners, colors, or flavors. Gluten-free. It's a complete meal you can literally grab and go for less than $5. And if I got a little more time, I'll use their powder and blend it up with some fruit, make a shake out of it, whatever you want. Do it with juice, do it with water. It's great stuff. It's Huel. And if you're trying to stay consistent, this combo makes it stupidly easy. It's Huel, right, Dawson?
Limited time offer. Get Huel today with our exclusive offer of 15% off online with our code ADAM at Huel.com/Adam. New customers only. Thank you to Huel for partnering and supporting our show.
All right, so now Joe, co-director, Mulvihill, got that right.
Nice.
Goes way back with Joey. Great job on the film. I think you said you just sort of started off as kind of a gopher almost for the band, right?
Carrying my bags.
Yeah, I met Joey. I worked at Universal Studios for a while, and Joey came in as a junior in high school. And we all worked together at Universal, me, him, Wayne Brady. We all worked in the same show. And I went on, I was one of the first people to ever throw a T-shirt out into a basketball game or a football game, me and 6 different guys. And it turned into a business for me. So I just started this business, was doing really good. Joey started a band. I went and saw his rehearsal. I said, this is never going to make it. This is terrible. The guy with the curly hair is terrible. The whole thing is terrible.
Well, yeah, in the doc, you basically go, Timberlake's not cutting it in this band. Yeah. We should go to the track later and you could pick some horses for me.
Yeah, I was off on that one. But yeah, and then I got offered an opportunity to work with him. But at the time, I was working with the Bulls and Jordan. And during the day, I was at Universal. And at night, I was working in sports. So I kept turning it down. And then they sent me a VHS tape from Europe, and I put it in, and I saw all these girls chasing the bus, and I was like, it's really happening for these guys.
Yeah.
So that's when I said, maybe I should work for them. So yeah, I started off as an assistant for them.
I forgot about the whole German route.
I was there for about 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
We started, we signed with what happened was Backstreet Boys left BMG in Munich, Germany, record company, and signed with Jive. And when that happened, that's when Lou and Johnny were like, hey, since you left, the Backstreet Boys left them, we have another group. Went and auditioned with them. They saw it. We signed with BMG and then started Europe because boy bands were popular at the time. And right around that time in the States, it was more grunge. It was more Nirvana. It was, Pearl Jam. It was all that.
So what year are we talking about?
We're talking about
96.
Yeah, right around there.
Yep.
95, 96.
95, 96.
Right.
'Cause I just graduated and joined the band, yeah.
95, 96. So I'm at K-Rock, the biggest alternative radio station.
It's probably cranking.
And it's all about Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and boy bands, no fly zone over, but a lot of it's also like an attitude. Like it was all sort of you had to like these bands because that made you cool, and that was yesterday's band, and that made you not cool.
Right.
So Backstreet Boys go to Germany first.
They went first,
right.
And they started basically doing shows there, and that's when boy bands were accepted there. And then when I think it was Hanson, Spice Girls, and Backstreet started coming into the States, and that started getting a liking, that's when we were able to get over there on the other side. And that's when we came into the States. And then,
So 2.5 years in Germany.
Yep. Alles klar, yeah.
And that's I guess
crazy.
Hasselhoff's probably doing some German stuff
He
a
was-
little later than that.
It was earlier than that, but he
earlier.
was doing
Oh, that's right.
Baywatch too. It was after Baywatch, but he was still sexy there. They still loved him over there though, boy. They still loved him.
They love
over
the
there.
Hoff over
Yeah.
there.
It's amazing.
And so your 2.5 years in Germany is just traveling from venue to venue?
Pretty much, we opened up for a rapper named TJ Bobo was his name, and opened up for a couple different acts out there. Then we started doing like little tours of just small open venues and stuff like that. And we did more of the radio shows. And then when that started breaking though, and then when we went to the States, we never went back.
When did also people kind of assume, I think, like for musicians and comedians, that you always were this skilled, and
we were
people,
brushing, yeah.
people weren't, like people didn't notice.
It just happened.
Right. Well, it's kind of weird because you go, like a comedian, you go, well, this guy to young Dave Chappelle, and they told him he couldn't come back to the club, and they go, well, he wasn't funny. Wasn't that funny back then? Like, when could you tell you guys were good?
I think when we first started singing together vocally, we were really good. I think we weren't polished as a group or as artists, I would say. And it was funny because we didn't have like literally like an A&R really all the time at us saying you need to be this or that. It was more or less us finding kind of what we were and who we were as a group. And that's kind of how it happened. And then us just polishing it over the years with being in Germany. And then we got the big break for Disney. Disney Channel gave us this big break because we were nobodies in the States. Backstreet Boys was popular there. They were supposed to do this big special on Disney. They turned it down. we picked up the scraps and we blew up after that. And that's how kind of we got the big break.
Before that, the one thing that you miss is they rehearsed the same 4 songs.
Yeah, for about 2.5
literally
years.
over a year. The same 4 songs for
Wow.
a year. So when they had their opportunity to go over to Germany, they were so polished that people were like, wow, back to your thing. Everybody goes, oh, it just happened overnight. Nobody saw him working same 4 songs every day and over and over. So
Did it, there's part of it is tedious and boring. The other part is I can do this in my sleep. I don't have to remember the whole new set and everything. So there's kind of an upside and then sort of a downside. But would you guys cover stuff at the beginning?
Yeah, we did it. Well, when we did the first thing, we did a cover of the Beatles' "We Can Work It Out," but we kind of made it our own in sync version, if you will. And then we had like 3 or 4 originals. Then when we were doing some tours, though, we threw in like the Temptations. We did a Temptation set. We did a Beatles set, and because we didn't have that many, we only had like 1 album. So what are you gonna do? An hour show with 12 songs adds up pretty quickly. So we had to do certain things. Obviously, with more albums, able to do our own songs after that. But we still, I think, actually during every tour, we kind of throw in fun things and covers that we do.
Yeah, I would. I'm going to recommend Spinners. I love the Spinners.
The Spinners.
I like the Temptations a lot, but people sleep a little on the Spinners. But the Spinners are real good.
And the Jesters too,
as well.
Delphonics. I'm a huge.
he's a big
50s
doo-wop guy.
Oh, you are? So you're like a Dion and the Belmonts kind of guy?
Correct. Frankie and the Avalon. Yeah, Frankie Avalon. All this stuff. Yeah, I do. It's weird.
It's funny. It's I don't know now if I heard any new music, if I could put a timestamp on it, but that stuff you can put about
100%.
4-year boom. Like it wasn't before 55, wasn't after 60.
Right.
It was like boom, right
There's
there.
a set that all were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I loved it.
Yeah, I guess there's a simple sort of beauty to like Run Around Sue and stuff like that.
Heck yeah.
I love it. I love it back what they could get away with shit. Like you take the song The Wanderer and he basically just wanders around banging everybody, you know? And but there's a part of the song that's great. He goes, after he's done banging all this strange pussy, at some point they'll ask him, which one do you love the best? And he tears open his shirt and shows him Rosie on his chest, which, by the way, they probably saw when he was banging them, But it's pretty brash to go. I like all kinds of women, but this is my. Like, you want to know? I know you're hoping I was going to say you, but it's Rosie. He tears his
Chuck
shirt
Berry
open.
with My Ding-a-Ling, things like that.
Yeah. Even Ricky Nelson with Traveling Man, like they did a lot of stuff. He had his girl in Singapore. He had him stashed. He's like, right,
I get away with it, but now they're just blunt though now, which is even crazier. They just say it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey, lick this, but fuck this, but and you're like, what the hell?
That's art. I think that was art back then.
That was because it was clever.
Art. Yeah.
It was clever, I thought.
Yeah, they had to, it was like knowing she would, the Beatles turning into Norwegian Wood and stuff like that. Like they had to kind of dance around the stuff. Now you realize it's a strange time, but you have the president of the United States like standing in front of a podium, and he's up there and he's like, well, we beat the shit out of those Iranians because they're pussies. And I'm like, yeah, wow, this would have been mind-blowing when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, you don't say anything.
Kind of mind-boggling.
It is now, but you have the mayor of any town who wins the Super Bowl or wins the NBA championship to go, let's fucking go, fucking Lakers. It's like, you're the mayor and you're a woman. You're not supposed to be doing that. But it's just on now.
Yeah.
It's no hold bars, and again, that's why reverting back to the 90s is always a good time because it was so carefree and there was censorship, but it was carefree in that sense.
First off, everyone's got a camera with a phone in it and a phone and a camera in it now, but it would have been really tough privacy-wise trying to do what you did, travel.
It's just all eyes are on everybody now. It's just crazy. I'm okay with it because eyes were on us at a younger age, I guess, and I'm not very bothered by it anymore. Certain celebrity now or artists are like, oh no, I don't want to be in the front. Meanwhile, you're the one that wanted to be in the limelight, so shut up and take the damn photo.
No, I totally agree, and you should be flattered by it.
But there's a time and a place for everything. I mean,
I guess people are coming up and because they appreciate you, and they're enthusiastic, and they want to take a picture, or say hi, or whatever, and it's all the motivation is all good, and. The only time I didn't take a picture with somebody is I forgot about this, but I was standing in front of Kimmel's Theater a million years ago, and I was like walking down Hollywood, and these two middle-aged women go, "Hey, Adam." I go, "Oh, hey, can we get a picture?" I go, "Yeah, you can get a picture." And they go, "All right, let's get." And while we're getting it going, they go, my husband's a big fan. I mean, I don't care for, but he would love this. He would love this picture. And I go, okay. Because you understand, he loved the mansion. I didn't care for it myself. Right. You know what I mean? I go, okay, let's just get the picture. We'll give it to your husband. She goes, I thought it was offensive, actually. I go, that's it. We're done. And they go, what? What's going on? And I'm like, listen, I know you're going to go home and tell your husband a story about me being a douchebag. Right. Go right ahead. This is the third time you've insulted me in our attempt to take this picture. You should fucking figure it out because you got an issue. And I left, and we never took the picture.
Hey, it happens.
Joey had a situation at a restaurant we were eating. And this young girl kept faking a photo or moving around. You know how they sneak a photo in? Sneaking a photo.
And the mother asked first, "Hey, you mind taking a photo?" I said, "You done eating soon?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "After you're done eating, I'll go outside and take the photo. No problem." So now the kids are taking photos the whole time. And I'm like, oh, come on. So they get up, and we're still ordering food. We're just, like a Benihana stuff. The table's on the other side. And she goes, "Hey, do you mind if I take that photo?" I'm like, "Actually, I've never been really rude, man, but I'm not going to do that for you." I was like, "Why not?" I said, "Well, your kids have been taking photos the whole time." When I said, "I'll take it later on," but you've been taking it the whole time we've been having conversations and eating.
Right.
And like, "No, they haven't." I said, "They're not." I said, "Can I see your phone?" She goes, "No, you can't see the phone." And she got mad and walked out. As I'm about to eat, I get smacked in the back of my head, which is my mother. And she goes, "You go out there and you fucking better go take that photo. I'm going to beat your ass." And I was like, okay. And obviously my mother, but I was so mad that I didn't want to take it, but I had no choice. But I would have never taken that photo. Because again, it's like, I understand that. And we even said, hey, it's okay. We'll take it later. But if you're going to keep invading the privacy, why should I be nice now?
Yeah, I agree. And also, you may have to learn how to be a celebrity, but people need to learn how to be a fan too. Right. There's an element of that.
There's a respect level too.
The funny one the one that always cracks me up is when there's a bunch of people and you're trying to get somewhere and you're like taking pictures or something. And the person goes, one more, just one more. I go, one more for you.
Right.
That's not
that's for everybody else.
There's everybody else. I don't know where you can get the one more.
Just one more. Or you're like, hey, have your camera ready. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm in the. You know what? Just move aside. We'll take. And then you get back to them, and they still mess it up. And you go, come on.
The one I love is they've been standing there for 10 minutes. They go, oh, it's on video. I go, that's better. That's better. They go, no, let me get it off video. I go, no, keep it on video.
Just let it go.
Just grab a shot. Make a movie. You can make a short film. Well, the movie Boy Band Confidential, is it 4 parts?
2. It's 2 parts.
Oh, 2 parts.
Yeah.
2 parts.
And how long is each part?
It's about an hour and 30 minutes for the first part, and then the second part's an hour and 30 minutes. It's about 3 hours worth of material.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. It's weird. I saw my guy said like 4 1-hour things, and I go, I watched an hour and a half last night. So.
Yeah. Joey and I saw something that said 4 parts. So when he called me and said, did it change to 4 parts? I'm like, I don't think it did. So it might have been something you might have saw too.
Cruise that internet and figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
But it's I saw the first part, and I mean the first 90 minutes. It's good. And it's done well. Like I said, some docs don't look that good. They look like a little cheap and a little tinny or something. Mm-hmm. Like they're a little flat. Like they'll have those docs. You'll see them on, I don't know, it's like YouTube, and it'll go like, Tom Petty, we hardly knew you, and it's 41 minutes or something, and you just see it, and it already looks a little weak sauce.
Or it's like almost like
dum,
dum, dum. To me in my head, it's kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, and they'll do them, and there's a little artistry that has to go into docs. And by the way, docs used to just kind of be tutorials, and now they're a genre, and they have more to them, and so this This series looks amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, like I said, for me and Joe to kind of put this together and come from a artist side and from a management side, it's actually been very, very cool to be able to see that. Because again, we do play off of each other, but then listening to these other people and going, okay, well, that's how that went, and that's how this story went. And imagine and then we went into this depth thing, and that's why we did this doc, is because again, what's cool about this one is you can go off into other groups like this or other bands and other things and know that these stories exist, obviously, and there's a lot of them out there. So it's interesting to see, and hopefully we'll be able to dive into more.
Once you start making docs, it's really like killing prostitutes. You can't stop.
No, you
get a little taste, because when you start walking
down that rabbit hole,
you pass people in the airport and you go, that could be a good subject for a doc. We should do a doc about that guy because he's working a floor buffer.
It's true.
But there's a story there, man. Like, you just start running. I made my first doc about Paul Newman's car racing and ended up making another one about Willie T. Ribbs, who was like the first black driver at Indy, because he was in the Paul Newman doc, and as I'm making we're interviewing this guy, I'm going, well, this guy's our next doc. Right. You know what I mean? So you'll start down this doc highway that you made. I know it has, because it's baked in.
And
You've already started going, and then you'll start going, shit, we don't need to do bands. We can do whatever, and
it's interesting.
And you're off and running.
Yeah.
All right, Joestown. That was awesome. And the series, again, it is on Discovery, or sorry, I should say Investigation Discovery and HBO Max as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll do the news with Rudy right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Yeah. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. These are good guys. Always used them. Always have. And back when I was a carpenter, I had a wrench on my Isuzu Trooper. Always used O'Reilly. There are not many car issues that I can't figure out, but if I can't, I'm stumped, I'll always call O'Reilly immediately. They've got thousands of parts in stock, either in store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. They'll also test your battery for free, and if it needs to be replaced, they'll help you find the right one. So, whether you're a car aficionado or an auto novice, you'll see the employees at O'Reilly Auto Parts are helpful and friendly. They held the door for me last time I went. O'Reilly is your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself. It's O'Reilly, right, Dawson?
Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
Quince. Well, it's that time of year that always makes me rethink what I'm wearing. I'm trying to keep fewer things, but better ones. You know what I mean? Quality, not quantity. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. They use 100% European linens, and their insanely soft, flow-knit activewear fabric, moisture-wicking, anti-odor, and soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. They work directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middleman. So you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Quince linen pants have become my go-to. So comfortable, I wear them on stage. It's Quince, right, Dawson?
Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/ACS for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/ACS for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/ACS. It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Ace Man, Paul here in Missouri. I was watching the news with you and Rudy, and I think you inadvertently coined a new phrase. You've got AI, which is artificial intelligence, and you've got EI, which is estrogen influx. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Rudy's here. Everyone loves Rudy and his news.
What's going on?
We'll do that in a second. I was looking down on my list of things to talk about. I had an interesting thought. Well, I think it's interesting. I kind of think everything means something. Like I don't take anything as light. You know, if you see a neighbor walking down the street, you're standing on your porch, and that neighbor's walking to get his mailbox, and he picks up a piece of garbage that somebody left and puts it in the trash can and walks back. You go, okay, that's a good neighbor. That's a good dude. That guy's kind of universally good.
Yes.
And if you saw another neighbor like walking down the street and their dog was sniffing and they kicked the dog in the ribs, you'd go, okay, that's an asshole neighbor. Now you go, what do you know about that person? Well, all you know is that guy picked up a piece of garbage and that guy kicked his dog. But I think I know a lot about that person. And that's kind of how I roll. Like, most people, for some reason, don't do that. Like, when I saw the clip, and we always play it, it's worth playing it again, and Andrew's got to look for it because I didn't talk to him. But when I saw the clip of Joe Biden, like, standing up on stage, holding a microphone, explaining that he was two-time Fulbright scholarship. He's the top of his law class, and he's the only dual major law student that's ever been sent from Cornell. And then he was lying about everything, and he was like 55. I'm like, that guy's a super flawed, fucked up, narcissistic, broken person.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, everything that guy says is now suspect. I've never talked to my son about his business ever. You were just standing in front of a group telling me you won the Lombardi Trophy and the Outlander Trophy and the Butkus Award, and you're the top of your law class, and you were at the bottom of your law class, and you didn't do any of that stuff. So now people go, it's just a politician's up there bragging. Maybe his memory didn't. Are you kidding? That is a sociopath.
Sure.
That's an insane sociopath.
Well, I went to law school.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's go. It's good. The whole clip is awesome. And by the way, it's back when news used to be news. It's back when they would, on ABC or NBC, go after a Democrat. This is great.
The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a full-blown sociopath.
Yep.
Okay. And for me, I go, something's wrong with that. Now, Trump explaining that when he gets elected, he's going to turn everything into gold is different. It's weird. It's like there's blowhards that talk about being big man on campus and star of the high school team or something. It's different than what Biden does. Mm-hmm. And what Trump does is a blowhardy version of it. But it was an interesting thing. So here's what I was looking at. Somebody showed a clip, and it was over the weekend. It was a UFC fight. Paulo Costa, I guess, won his fight. And he jumps over the fence. He's going to say hi to Trump, which is what all these guys do. All the UFC guys love Trump. All the merit-based people love Trump, airline pilots and stuff like that. It's this faculty, school, teacher, lounge folk that don't like Trump. Yeah. The fucking super lazy fucks that don't do anything. People with no merits. Right. Things that don't compete or do anything. So all the people that compete love Trump. So he jumps over, and we'll just show you the clip. Trump, he wants to say hi to Trump, and he just wins his fight. I don't know what round he won it in, but it doesn't matter. He just finished a UFC fight. You can play it. And Trump grabs his hand. Now, his hand is a sweaty, bloody piece of mess because he just got done pummeling someone with his right hand. And Trump won't let go of his hand, which has to be wet. Yeah. With sweat, saliva, maybe blood. Trump's not wearing a glove. Trump just grabbed onto his hand. Now he touches his sweaty arm with his other hand, Now he starts touching his leg. This guy is one big petri dish, sucking up sweat. By the way, he's not wiping his hands. He's not going for a rag. He grabs his hand again. So Dana White. Okay, here's what I'm saying. That's a dude. That's a dude. That's not Mr. Purell. That's not what triple mask. That's not, you know, that's been, or what about that. It's different. There's a mindset. I don't think you wouldn't find Kamala Harris doing that. And by the way, I look, the guy reaches out, you give him the bump and you retreat, but you don't hang on to a wet, sweaty leather glove, which again, it's got his sweat, it's got the other guy's sweat, it's got blood, spit, whatever, DNA, whatever's on there. And then his whole body's covered with sweat and you're touching him.
And he wipes his hair with his right hand and then shakes his hand after that. One of the best pieces of advice I was ever given, I was working construction, like 17 years old. My grandfather was still alive. My grandfather had this guy that he had hired during the summer. He was a little bit older than I was, probably like in his mid-20s, but he said to me, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it completely changed my life. It completely changed. How you do one thing is, and I think about that every time I write a joke, or every time I clean my car, or every time I put out, I write a script. I just go, are you going to finish this or aren't you? Because if you can finish cleaning your car, you can finish the goddamn script and you can do it professionally.
Yes, which is not exactly apples to apples for what I'm talking about.
But I'm saying
a good message for the kids anyway.
Yeah, but like you shake a guy's hand, it's all sweaty. You're also, how you do one thing is how you do everything. You're not grossed out by that guy, which means you're probably a guy that can mix it up with other people. You can be germy. You're okay with it.
You are okay on a construction site, because a construction site is a lot of sweaty dudes.
That's what I'm saying.
And a lot of guys all lifting up something at the same time, and you're getting the other guy's shit all over you. And it's kind of a eating lunch, just sort of sitting on the ground, you know, sitting on a pile of bricks and eating stuff, putting your sandwich down on the side of the brick, you know, like it's a dude move. And that is, and you know, that it doesn't, you know, I wouldn't know. By the way, I kind of would know something about that guy's foreign policy, which is fuck with this country and you get blown up, because he's the same guy who doesn't care about all the sweat.
See what I mean?
On the guy. All right. Let's see. You got news?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Let's jump into it. A new bill dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act passed its first hurdle in California's legislature late Tuesday. The bill's movement comes after 24-year-old independent journalist Nick Shirley published a 40-minute video on hospice fraud in the state. His video racked up 42 million views on X and has brought public scrutiny to California's funded Medicare programs. Other investigations have found that a single program is causing the state to hemorrhage $6 billion in fraud annually.
Right. So we got to stop it. Now, okay, couple things. Politicians, look, this is their constituency, and they don't really care about fraud. They care about their constituency, and you experienced it in Minnesota. That's what's going on. But here's the thing about politicians in the past. They had to feign some sort of sincerity or some sort of caring, you know what I mean? Which is out the window now. And you can find another one of my favorite clips was the Nancy Pelosi, when they were asking her during the Summer of Love, like, people are tearing down statues. Don't you think they should get a permit for that or something? And she goes, people are, they're going to do what they do. It's like, you're not, you have to feign. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, your constituency are the animals that's burning the city to the ground, but you have to pretend like you don't like it, even though you do like them and you want their vote. Mm-hmm. But you have to pretend when we put a mic in front of you. So this thing, that's your constituency. It's all immigrants. It's Somalis, I guess. There's actually a clip of Nick talking about it, which, by the way, we should probably play. The Somalis, where you're from, Armos, where I'm from, but that's their protected group. These are immigrants. These are poor. By the way, they're harder working and contribute more and pay more taxes and use less than we do. Mm-hmm. Did you know that about the Somalis?
I mean, I was definitely aware.
Except for 80% of them are on welfare. But okay, but that's the rap, right? That's how it works. So we used to feign an interest in this. And what we would do is you would get up there and you'd go, I'm outraged by this fraud. That's taxpayer money, and I'm here to fight for that. And then you'd go back and do nothing. Now you're releasing bills saying we can't uncover the fraud.
Yeah, one of the things that they talk about is these people are not allowed to put out any sort of content which may, with the intent to threaten, intimidate, or incite violence, which is basically them just putting out facts, and then they just go, well, you only put that to incite violence.
Well, let's see if we can just get a 10,000-foot view of this. You are for a secure border, and you're against illegal immigration, but if somebody says, I want to build a wall at the border, you say you're going to tear it down. And if someone in Texas tries to put barbed wire over the Rio Grande, you sue Texas to get it taken down. So are you against this thing? And you're against fraud, except for you're going to attack Elon Musk when he puts together a thing called Doge and burn his dealerships. And you're against fraud, but you're releasing a bill to essentially attack the guy who uncovered the fraud. So you're against these things, except for there's no part of your action that ever seems against any of these things. And now you're in a really weird position because you have to go through your political life saying, I'm against this and I'm against fraud and I'm for a closed and stout border, except for everything I do is to repel both those things.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm confused as a voter, except for I'm not. I know what you want. Yes.
And in the wording of this language, journalism is pernicious now.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear Nick. Let's hear his response to this.
All right, check this out. This is a bit crazy. California Democrats advance Stop Nick Shirley Act to criminalize investigative journalism. So after I expose widespread fraud all across America, and quite frankly, states like Minnesota and California are just the worst at it, letting fraud take place, especially inside of immigrant communities. For instance, the Somalians in Minnesota and then the Armenians in California. And so now they're trying to silence anybody who exposes fraud inside of California. For instance, if this bill is passed, the Quality Leering Center that was in Minnesota would be protected from being exposed. That is absolutely crazy. And the crazy thing about this is the person who is proposing this bill, her name is Mia Bonta. Her husband is the Attorney General of California. And so let's say you expose fraud. This is what could happen to you inside the state of California. You could get a misdemeanor, a $10,000 fine, imprisonment, and your content forced to be deleted. That is absolutely crazy. It is time for people to either stand up or we face mass oppression from those that rule us.
Oh, no kings. Yeah. I'm going to go down a no kings march.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob Bonta is the AG of California. His wife is putting this ahead. First off, would you get your bitch on a leash? Jesus Christ. If my fucking wife said, I got a plan, I'm going to go I'd go, look, sweetheart, you know what that's going to look like for fucking me?
Sure.
We're going to look like idiots. And by the way, you're going to look like you're aiding and abetting fraud. And my job is to stop fraud. Think about the optics of it.
Yeah.
So that's insane. Also, it kind of proves they don't care anymore. Like, just fuck it. I'm just going to, like, there used to be an optics thing where someone go, you know what that looks like? This is also chick think. Chicks will fucking just say anything and do anything. I'm going to put a bill ahead that says it's like Nithya Raman talking about catalytic converters. Like, bitch, shut up. You don't fuck. You got to hear what you sound like with this shit. You're blaming Toyota for people stealing catalytic converters. You're nuts.
Yeah.
That sounds insane. This is a feminine trait. It's kind of the, again, when they pull the guy off the airplane who's been battling with the stewardess for the last hour, you'll always hear the women's voice yelling, what's going on? That's not them saying what's going on. That's them saying, I can't control my mouth. I can't control my brain. I just, fucking shit just comes flying out. You know what I mean?
This goes back to the phone call earlier. It is EI, estrogen influx.
Yes. And so California is the most feminine governmental state. And thus we get the most crazy fucking ideas of any place in the land.
And the website they use is ChatCNT.
Rob Bonta, this is his wife.
You should go down a rabbit hole on Bonta. He's a bad dude.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
Really?
He's a piece of shit. And also, but it's great. But he's a Latina. He's a Latina color or whatever. This affirmative action, as we used to call it, DEI stuff. People have no idea the damage this has caused. Taking inept fucking dumbos and putting them in positions of power because they're Hispanic or black or lesbian or female or whatever.
All these people have zero moral compass. Compass.
He's a fucking idiot.
I believe that Bonta is tied to the investigation on the Duong people in the Bay Area. That Oakland mayor had to step down. She's investigated by the FBI.
We need more females in positions of color.
So essentially, I do think that in this case, Bonta has buried himself into a corner of turning a blind eye to stuff that he knows or he is possibly implicated in. And now his wife is they're double timing, trying to cover everybody's ass by trying to.
But hold on, former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao.
Yeah.
But that's a woman and a minority, so they're better.
Oh, she's better. I'm sorry.
They don't do stuff. Indicted in federal bribery and corruption charges.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it turns out bitches are better at this than dudes were.
The Duong family, and I'm not entirely correct on all this, 100% accurate, but I believe what they were doing was they sold the city of Oakland refurbished containers, storage containers that were supposed to be refurbished to become homeless housing.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
And they were charging like $300,000 for one of these. The city of Oakland ordered 1 million of them. There were kickbacks everywhere.
I know. And then the plan is really,
and Bonta is buried in this somewhere.
You really expect we're asking you to investigate your friends, basically, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
By the way, it's all they accuse Trump of is lawfare.
And this stuff better come back and bite these people in the ass that go down to like the Trump rallies and they basically record people and ask them questions that are loaded to make them look like idiots. And then all they do is just post the highlight reel of people saying stupid stuff and go, look at all these yokels over at the Trump rally. Okay, well, it works the same way then. If you don't want it to post anything that incites violence or to humiliate, well, then guess what? This is all underneath this bill as well.
There has never been
the whole plan, just like they did with COVID and big tech, is just intimidate people into staying home and being silent, essentially. Because as we found out with J6, if the wrong people are in charge, they can fucking ruin your life. I mean, that's kind of the implication.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Sorry.
Wisconsin sheriff sues Pakistani-American woman who said ICE detained her for 2 days when she was actually at a hotel spa. We got video of this.
Good. Sue that bitch. By the way, where are all the stories? Let me tell you something. There's two things. I've heard my whole life about Africanized killer bees coming to California from Mexico. I've never seen one. No one's ever been killed by a killer bee. It's never happened. It's 40 years on. All I hear is about ICE detaining people and disappearing people and doing all this. I never see the actual person. Shouldn't there be some guy who's released from prison with a big gray beard who goes, I was just mowing my lawn and I was mistaken for a Mexican and they disappeared? All you guys do is talk about stuff, but nothing ever comes out the other end.
Yeah.
It's basically their white supremacy is the biggest problem this country faces. Really? Because every time I turn on my phone, it's just some black kid punching an Asian. All right. So now, here we go.
That is right, Cheryl. Today, the Dodge County Sheriff said Sundance Sonny Nakvi's story was made up, and he's demanding action accountability for what he calls lies.
Sundance Nakvi was not detained by ICE at any time. She was not transported to Broadview Detention Facility. She was not transported across state lines to Dodge County, by law enforcement anyway. She was not in the custody of the Dodge County Sheriff's Office.
Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt in his lawsuit outlining what he calls a hoax allegedly carried out by 28-year-old Sundance Sonny Nakvi. Nakvi's supporter spoke out last month after the Evanston native claimed she was detained at O'Hare Airport by Customs and Border Protection for 30 hours. Her family says she was then sent to the ICE detention facility in Broadview and later transported to a facility in Dodge County, Wisconsin, where they said she was released Saturday, March 7th. According to the lawsuit, Sheriff Schmidt says Nakvi was actually staying at a hotel near O'Hare and allegedly sent text messages from her room.
She checked into the Hampton Inn and Suites in Rosemont, Illinois for the entire duration of this alleged event. Travel from the Hampton Inn and Suites in Illinois to the Holiday Inn Express in Beaver Dam was done to complete this hoax. She scammed a victim out of thousands of dollars in pursuit of this hoax against the federal government.
Look, by the way, when you start making victims into hero status, then you're going to get more people wanting to be fucking heroes.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Dumbos that are standing outside of the detention center with signs, because it does incite people to want to pull off more scams like this. Yeah. Because it gets some attention,
Rowe was getting schooled up by some chick online. I saw it. He's a dope. Obviously another California guy. There's a clip of it somewhere. But the reason I was thinking about that is because of they have a version of things. Like, what I'm saying is like they have their artist rendering of the bridge that goes over the freeway, and they have their artist rendering of the bullet train, and they have their artist rendering of the 7th Street Bridge. That's a happy drawing that you guys made. Like when Mamdani's talking about the supermarkets and stuff, he has drawings of like happy people getting free food and farmers giving stuff. That's a drawing in your head. The reality is going to be an empty store. People are going to be fighting over the last Triscuit, and it's going to be a shit show. Yeah. And you're going to want more money. But Rowe, listen to him. First off, he's dumb. And then secondly, he's getting schooled. But thirdly, his version of the illegals. Like they always do this thing, which drives me insane. Like it's somebody, like someone will go, you'll say, like if you said to a woman or whomever, you go to your roommate, like, hey, let's, you got all your boxes in the living room. Let's just put those boxes away. And then let's just kind of get organized here, because I tripped over a box last night when I came home. And then they go, he wants me to crawl up the flue in the vent above the oven and scrub it with a toothbrush. And I'm like, that's not what no one's ever said that. Yeah. No one ever said that. No one ever said, I want to go find law-abiding immigrants that are here illegally, but are paying taxes and working hard and supporting the family, and round them up and disappear them. That's nothing's ever said, but that's his. Let's just listen to him try to make sense for 10 minutes.
As a regular, everyday American citizen, I feel that I am more likely to be harmed by democratic policies such as open borders, because I'm for
secure borders.
Okay,
right.
But in your state,
he's for secure borders. In his artist rendering of the happy border with the flowers and the happy Mexicans. Yes, but you don't do anything. You fight against. The border got secured in 10 minutes after Trump showed up. Why? But he's for it. Mm-hmm. He's for it.
Because in your state,
for secure borders.
Okay, but in your state, something like 4,600 or so illegal migrants that had criminal records were re-released from jail. So when we're talking about harming Americans, when we're talking about children potentially being harmed, when we're looking into child trafficking, we have to acknowledge that illegal migration is the biggest funnel for child trafficking. So when we're worried about Epstein with a couple of people, and you guys turn a blind eye to tens of thousands of children being harmed by your policies, that's a problem.
We have been for a secure border, but here's what I want.
No one in California can say that they're for a secure border.
Well, that's a policy I've been pushing for. But let me say this. Instead of having ICE raids in places like Minneapolis, killing Americans like Alex Preddy and Renee Good.
2 people.
And doing raids on undocumented folks.
They remember the name of any nut job that got shot by law enforcement. That's always at the tip of their tongue. The hundreds of people that just get stabbed by illegals every year, they never know one of their names. They can't even pronounce them. They've never said it. They always have those 2 names.
Yeah.
Always, if somebody was killed by law enforcement, they fucking know him up and down and backwards. Wake that guy up in his sleep 5 years from now. Ask him the names of the two guys killed in Minnesota, and he'll tell you the two names. Ask him anybody who's been killed by an illegal.
Yeah.
They'll never know the fucking name.
The good-looking blonde gal on the subway.
Right.
No recollection.
All right, here we go.
Killing Americans like Alex Preddy and
people.
Renee Good.
2 people.
And doing raids on undocumented folks here who may be paying taxes and having a restaurant. How about we have the focus on the border to stop
hold on. So ISIS
having a restaurant.
They're having a restaurant and paying taxes and having a restaurant. As someone find me a clip of Trump saying, you know what I'm going to do with these ICE officials? I'm going after taxpayers who have restaurants.
Yeah.
All right, keep playing. It's funny.
Terrorists or to stop the gangs or to stop sex trafficking.
All right, hold on. There's 1 million hours of Tom Homan saying these guys, there's terrorists, there's sex traffickers, there's gang members. We need to go into your town and clean these fucking people up. But he wants to know why they're going after restaurant owners and not gang members. So no one's ever said that. Ever. It broke. What the answer is like, where's he get his information from? It's fucking. All right, so keep going. So
here who may be paying taxes and having a restaurant. How about we have the focus on the border to stop the terrorists or to stop the gangs or to stop sex trafficking?
The border's closed.
If you're worried about sex trafficking, why is your focus on the border on rich people?
The border's closed.
Who are committing significantly less sex trafficking crimes? Not saying that they're innocent, but your anger towards this seems very skewed and very hypocritical.
My anger towards them is because they feel like they're above the law. That they
and
use
so do
their
these migrants that get right back out of jail when you guys let them out.
But I am not.
They are above the law. They are at a tier that gets to walk free whenever they want.
I believe that if you've committed a violent crime or a terrible crime in this country, you should face deportation.
But you guys don't do it. You believe it, but you let these people
all right,
go.
hold on. He believes in a lot of stuff he doesn't do or say ever.
Mm-hmm. I believe in a clean house. I just don't clean it.
That's right. All right, sorry. Keep going. There's a good part.
Obama had a record of having secured the border, and there were a lot of criminals who were deported. What I don't agree with is what ICE is doing, putting terror in communities. I mean, let me ask you this:
I feel comfortable with ICE around. I'm not a criminal, illegal immigrant, so I feel very comfortable. I'm not terrorized by them, and I'm from New York.
New York,
Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, if there's an undocumented immigrant here, right, came across without their papers, and they opened a restaurant.
All right, pause. What do you mean without their papers?
Came across, but they forgot them at home.
They forgot they just stumbled across with no papers.
Yeah, man.
It's like sometimes you go to the airport, but you forgot your license, and then you got to call your girlfriend to bring it to you so you can go through security.
These are specific papers that just say they can come to America.
Well, they came here and they forgot their papers.
I'm sorry, I forgot my papers.
But anyway, they opened a restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, I have. They have a restaurant.
By the way, is there one person that's been deported that is this person he speaks
Wait,
of?
did the gangbangers own the restaurants? Is that who were arrested
They
here?
forgot the papers they had. Here we go.
And they've been
Why?
Here.
Why are they allowed to do that? Why are they taking that place away from someone else?
Right? Let's say they've been here 10 years and they're paying taxes. Do you think ICE should go and try to deport them, or do you think that we should? So we just disagree there.
We disagree in that he's an elected official and a lawmaker who doesn't want to enforce the law, and she's some chick from Brooklyn who does want to enforce it, but they disagree. That's where we... what other laws do we disagree on?
At least they're both for border security.
Rokana, I disagree on the 55 speed limit. How about that? I'm an 85 guy.
Yeah.
That's where we disagree. So no law enforcement. So he wants us to shut the border to stop the terrorists from getting in. Except for he left the fucking border open for 4 years, never said a thing, and now the border is shut. So what's he talking about with the border, number one? And then number two, he's invented this person. This is the Maryland dad. You invented this nice guy, forgot his paperwork, starting a thriving business and paying tons of taxes, and then we're going to shut that guy down. Is this what you think this is? And by the way, don't you have any thoughts about how fucking dumb you sound when you speak? Like people film it and then they put it up and then I make fun of you. Like,
yeah, going back to what you said earlier is that sometimes people need to hear what they sound like. Sadly, I think they do know what they sound like and they're okay with it. They just keep rolling with it.
The Nancy Pelosi statue thing. Did we ever find that? I don't know why I am so enamored with that.
Yeah.
Literally someone's asking a person that people are tearing down statues. And she goes, she said she's not much of a, she's not nostalgic. Like, she doesn't collect stuff. She's not a scrapbooker. And people are doing what they do, which is, running in the streets and burning shit. And by the way, she's from California. In California, if you want to hang up a hummingbird feeder, you got to pull a permit.
Sure.
You want to tear down 7,000 tons of bronze in a park? You're on your own.
Turn into scrap metal.
Tie that hose to the back of the pickup truck and get a running start. All right, this is great.
The city of Richmond is obviously in sync with your desire to get rid of Confederate statues, but in Baltimore and Little Italy, the statue of Christopher Columbus was removed or taken down. And I wonder if you have anything to share about that.
Well, I'm not a big, I don't even have my grandmother's earrings. I'm not a big, let's see what we have in terms of monuments in this. If the community doesn't want the statue there, the statue shouldn't be there.
Actually, shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
Fucking Christ, people. You do understand. Yeah. All right, by the way, people will wander through the rotunda on January 6th, bitch. That's just people doing what they do. You don't have feelings about other people doing things. She's not into nostalgia.
Hypocrite. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right. Friday, Phoenix. Rudy's going to be there being funny. Desert Ridge Improv. First show sold out on Friday, but other shows are going good over there. Sunday we're doing as well. I'm going to be everywhere. Rudy will be everywhere too. Just go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows. And for Rudy, just go to rudypovich.comedy.com. And until next time, this is Adam for Rudy and Joey saying mahalo.